Friday. Yes, sirree, Bob. The weekend is right around the corner. Time for the Friday, October 4th, 2024 edition of Sports 56 Mornings. I am Greg Gaston. Eli Savoy, my partner for nearly 20 years, is celebrating today, although not quite celebrating. He's playing a little golf today, but he is off. He will celebrate his 50th birthday on Sunday. So make sure Monday when he returns to work, you text him, email him, and tell him happy birthday, if you like. Your prerogative. I am joined by our producer, Elijah Seegers. We're in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it's where family and fun come together. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. And the first hour of the program is also brought to you by the Big Green Egg. If you thought for a moment that summer was gone, forget about it, buddy. 89 today for a high. 62 right now, comfortable, but 89 for a high. It was humid yesterday. It'll be a bit humid today, but again, the temperature nearing 90, so summer not going away quietly. Tonight, for your Friday evening, clear skies with a low of 65. And then the weekend should get up to about 90 with sunshine. Be a nice dry weekend, but again, a little bit on the warmer side for October. Coming up on the program today, John Varlas in studio, as he is every Friday. He's not always in studio, but most of the time he is. We'll talk prep football. I believe it's week 7 now. The season's just rolling right along. We'll talk to John about that at 7:25. At 8:05, the former president of the Marlins, Dave Sampson, on all things baseball and some other things, I'm sure, as well. I'm sure I'll have a very interesting opinion on Pete Rose. It probably differs from me. We'll see if he's kind of softened his stance on Rose and maybe entering Cooperstown one day posthumously. At 8:25, we'll catch up on everything soccer with Lawrence Dockery, including Memphis 901 FC, which is back home tomorrow. They are winding down their regular season, and once again, looks good to be a postseason team once again. And then at 9:05, we'll play 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. At 9:25, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him. The wonderful Brandon Lang will handicap some of the big college football and NFL games this weekend. NFL Week 5 kicked off last night with a great game. College football with 2 games last night, not so great. And the Major League Baseball playoffs, we now can move into the divisional round playoffs because finally the wild card round is over, completed after a thrilling come-from-behind win by the Mets yesterday in Game 3 in their series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Let me introduce Elijah Seegers, who is wrapping up his first week producing our program. What's it been like for you, my friend? How you doing this morning?
I'm good, Greg. How are you doing?
Doing good. And what's it been like for you? Have we treated you okay? It hasn't been too tough for you, right?
No, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but you guys have all made it easy for me, so I really appreciate that.
Did you get a chance? I know you're school, you still got classes, you're still taking tests and exams and all that stuff. Do kids still take tests now, or do they just party?
Yeah, we're not that out of touch.
Okay, all right. So you're still taking tests, you're still doing homework. Did you get a chance to watch? It was a sneaky good Thursday night in sports, was it not?
It really was. Kind of unexpected out of nowhere with the Thursday night football game and the MLB playoff game between the Mets and the Brewers. Man, it delivered.
See, the problem I have is the game on Thursday is on Amazon Prime so you just can't flip. And I don't do the 2 TV thing. So I'm watching the NFL game. The Mets were trailing, and I thought it was over. So I missed the Pete Alonso home run.
Oh, man.
So I went back, and I saw it on social media. So I was following along on Twitter, and I see that Alonso, the polar bear, I think they call him, hits the home run. I'm like, gosh, I want to see it live, but going back and watching the replay was still sweet. And then what was really cool, and I don't know if you saw this, there were a bunch of fans, Mets fans, that were at Citi Field in New York while the Mets were playing in Milwaukee. Obviously, they couldn't make the trip. They didn't have tickets, whatever, but they wanted to support their team more than just staying at home. So they went to City Park, and they watched, and the reaction to when Alonso hit the home run was tremendous. So now we got some interesting series coming up in the divisional round, including my Phillies against the Mets. So, yeah, it was a really good Thursday night. Before we dive into everything that happened last night, there is a mystery right now in this studio. I walked into the studio, and I was greeted with a box of Milk-Bone dog biscuits. There is a box of Milk-Bone dog biscuits sitting there. I mean, it wasn't for me. It didn't have my name on it or anything like that, but there is a box that has not been opened. As far as I know, we do not have a mascot, Sports 56. We don't have a dog as a mascot, but there is a box of dog bone biscuits. I would guess, I would probably put money on it that somehow Harden's involved in this. I would think he would be the guy I would, look at for the mystery, to solve the mystery. But you never know. So anyway, I want to get to the bottom of it. You help me get to the bottom of it as well with these brand new box of Milk-Bone dog biscuits. I know people actually, like a couple of acquaintances that have eaten the milk bones.
I must confess, I have done the same in my younger years.
You actually did it with friends.
It was a dare. I was dared.
So what? I mean, I never did it. What did it taste like? Just plain bland?
Kind of chalky.
Chalky. You didn't get sick or anything, right?
No, not that I know of, at least. I've done some worse things than that. So that was just that was just another one of the daring things I did as a child.
We're learning another side of you, Elijah. All right. Well, you won't have to do anything crazy here as our producer. Again, appreciate all the work, and we'll get to the bottom of this Milk-Bone mystery here sometime, hopefully, today. All right. So let's start with the NFL game last night, where scoring was at not a minimum, at a maximum, with these teams combining for 66. So if you had the over ticket, you were a winner. Defense was optional. And the Falcons, in overtime, get the win over the Buccaneers 36-30, which improves the Falcons to 3-2. It drops the Buccaneers to 3-2. The NFC South, while it won't be the best division in football by any stretch of the imagination, it is going to be competitive and will probably come down to the final weeks or week. In this particular game, Kirk Cousins, whose demise has been greatly exaggerated, went 42 of 58 for 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Again, his stat line, 42 of 58, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. That set a new Falcons record for yardage in a game by a quarterback. He threw the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime. Again, really suspect Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense, which is surprising when you know that Todd Bowles, a defensive-minded guy, is their head coach. They completely went to sleep. He throws a pass to Kaderil Hodge, who's in the game because Drake London gets banged up, I believe, the play prior. Hodge catches it. I don't know if they just lost where he was. He kind of turned, ducked, and then went forward and outraced everybody into the end zone for the game winner. So Kirk Cousins with a magnificent game. Arthur Blank was ecstatic, the owner of the Falcons. And a disappointing loss for Tampa, who seemed to not have complete control, but we're in a position to win that game. Baker Mayfield, very good. 19 of 24, didn't have to throw the ball a lot. They ran the ball well. 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns, which gives him 100 career touchdowns. I think 99 receiving, and then 1 was, if I'm not mistaken, a fumble recovery in the end zone. 100 touchdowns for the former Texas A&M Aggie. But that was a fun game. If you like the NFL, and I'm sure most of you do, if not all of you, that was a game you shouldn't have missed. Sometimes you look at a game and you go, Falcons, Buccaneers really doesn't do much for me. And it ends up being a classic, and that was a classic. Falcons 36, Buccaneers 30 in overtime. And again, both teams now 3-2 on the season. By the way, Sunday we'll have a triple header for you right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM. Dolphins at the Pats at noon. Cardinals at the 49ers at 3. And then the Sunday night game, Cowboys at the Steelers. We'll have the Monday night game for you as well. Saints at the Chiefs at 7 o'clock. College football, Week 6 kicked off. 2 games last night that I didn't watch 1 second of it. Just wasn't my cup of tea. If there was nothing else on sports-wise, I would have. Texas State beats Troy 38-17. Texas State improves to 3-2. Troy drops to 1-5. And Sam Houston beat UTEP 41-21. Sam Houston, after a lousy, and I mean lousy season last year, 5-1. UTEP 0-5. UTEP, the team, the school, the program, the whole kit and caboodle that's going to the Mountain West. That's who the Mountain West brought in. UTEP. They're 0-5. Now, they won't be there for 2 years, so maybe they can improve. The Miners, not a good program. On the other side, that Texas State team is good. They lost that shootout to Sam Houston, but still a very good team. Troy's interesting because Troy, which Memphis beat earlier this season, they lost their coach, John Sumrall. They lost a lot of talent. Sumrall goes to Tulane and lost that tough one to K-State, where they probably should have won, and then buried South Florida. So, and Willie Fritz leaves to go to Houston, and they're having all kinds of problems. Now, you got to give it time for him to get his guys in, get his personnel in. So there's no blame in year one on Willie Fritz with Houston. But it is interesting because Sumrall, much respected like Willie Fritz, makes the transition from Troy, from Troy to Tulane, and has done a great job. He's done a great job. Memphis will play Tulane later this season. But for Troy and their first-year head coach, struggling, 1-5. So now, if you look at the Memphis Tigers' opponents this year and take out Navy because they lost to Navy, the Tigers have 4 wins. The combined record of those 4 teams that the Tigers have now beaten is 4-18. Did you realize that, Elijah? 4-18.
I had no idea. That is crazy.
You got North Alabama struggling, Troy struggling, Florida State struggling, Middle Tennessee State struggling. They may all have 1 win apiece. That may be the deal. I'm trying to, I don't know, maybe you could check that out. But those 4 teams, the combination is 4 dubs. Now, does that mean maybe Memphis is not as good as we think? It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just it happened to be that they played some teams that are struggling, and they beat all those teams. The one team that is not struggling is Navy, and they lost to that team. Navy's undefeated. So we'll see. That's why I think this game coming up a week from tonight at South Florida is going to really tell a huge story about where Memphis is from that point on the rest of the season. They go down to Tampa, where you know their backs now are against the wall. They have to win out. They need help. They don't control their own destiny. They go down there, play well, win that football game. You're going to feel good about the rest of the year. They go down there and lose, especially South Florida having gotten throttled at Tulane. Then you're going to start scratching your head. So it's a big game. That's why this is a perfect bye week for Memphis to get ready for that challenge against the Bulls. I still think South Florida is a really good football team, despite that loss, that blowout loss at Tulane. But anyway, that's interesting as far as the combined teams that Memphis has beaten. Tonight, 3 games on tap. Jacksonville State, the Fighting Rich Rodriguezes, at Kennesaw State. Houston, the aforementioned Willie Fritz, and Houston at TCU in the Big 12. And then Michigan State at Oregon, now a Big 10 game, of course, with Oregon in the Big 10. And Oregon should not have too many problems, I don't believe, with Michigan State. Jonathan Smith in his first year, again, he needs some time. Give him time. He did a great job at Oregon State. But Michigan State, I don't believe, will be able to hang with Oregon and that offense, which got off to a slow start this season, but has certainly picked it up since. Now, we talked about yesterday being a sneaky good Thursday of sports. Major League Baseball playoffs, the postseason, the wild card round, final game in the wild card playoffs. The Braves, the Brewers in Milwaukee. Scoreless game going into the 7th inning. And I always talk about these relative unknowns rising to the occasion in the postseason in October. It's a tale as old as time. For years and years and decades, you always see these guys. Now, stars come through as well. That's why they're stars. But you see a lot of these guys that nobody's heard of. They get a pinch hit home run here, a pinch hit home run there, a great outing when they're forced to start a game on the mound, things like that. There's always been those guys. I call them bed bugs. Well, last night you had pinch hitter Jake Bauers in the 7th inning, homering to give Milwaukee a 1-0 lead, and the crowd goes crazy in Wisconsin. And then the next hitter on the next pitch, Sal Frelick. Sal Frelick, not to be confused with Mike Trout. They go back-to-back, and it's 2-0. So Milwaukee's in the driver's seat. They're at home. They're up 2-0. The Mets have 2 more at-bats. Well, the Mets can't do anything in the 8th. They go to the 9th. They're down 2-0, and the Mets score 4. We talked about the Pete Alonso home run, 3-run blast to right field, and then they scored another for a little insurance, and they win 4-2. An amazing comeback by the Mets. Not quite the miracle Mets, but when it's all said and done, maybe they will be. Because early in the year, they were struggling. We were talking about them possibly being a team that will sell at the All-Star break. And here they are coming through the way they did. That means the Mets and the Phillies, an NL East rival or rivalry, they will be playing on Saturday, as will all the divisional round series begin on Saturday. Best 3 of 5 in Philadelphia, 3:08 first pitch. The Mets and the Phillies, rivals. You also have an AL Central rivalry. The Tigers, the Guardians. They will kick things off on Saturday with Game 1 of the divisional round playoffs. They'll go at 12:08 from Cleveland. So those are the early games. Then it's the Royals and the Yankees at 5:38. The Royals, the surprise, knocking off the Orioles in 2 straight, giving up just the 1 run. And that'll be followed by another rivalry out west, the Padres, the Dodgers at 7:38. So you think about it, you have an AL Central battle, you have an NL East battle, you have an NL West battle, and because the Orioles lost, you don't have that AL East battle. But close to having 4 divisional rivalries as your divisional round playoff series. Should be a lot of fun. October baseball always is. Another topic here before we take our first break, and John Varlos on the other side. I had a chance yesterday to head over to the Laurie Walton Center and see the Memphis basketball team for the first time this year. And we've talked about it numerous times, about this year's team, that I don't know. People ask me what do I think about the team. I don't really have a finger on the pulse of the team yet. I got a better idea yesterday seeing them in person. A couple of things I walked away with, these thoughts. One, they are defensive-minded, which is Penny's forte. They got away from that last year. Defensive-minded, hard-nosed team, very fast, with a good opportunity to have a great transitional game, turning defense into offense. They don't have a lot of size. Now, Musa, who probably won't start, will come off the bench, is pretty big, but really not a big team whatsoever. Even the front line, if it's Danger and Tyreek Smith or Danger and Jourdain, not real big. I mean, if they go up against 7-footers, 6'11", 6'10" guys, I mean, they are outsized as far as height is concerned. And their perimeter, it's interesting, their perimeter, small scale, don't mix up my thought here and my words. I'm not comparing them to Ja, Marcus, and Dez in talent, but the fact that there's 3 perimeter guys that are kind of interchangeable that they can use, can be the ball person. I mean, Ja's going to mainly be the on-ball person. I understand that. But if you had to, Dez could play point. Marcus could play point. With the Memphis Tigers, it's somewhat similar. You have Tyrese Hunter, who, by the way, I got to find out what his vertical was at Pro Day yesterday because he was leaping out of the building. But he'll be mainly on the ball. But P.J. Haggerty, who at Tulsa certainly had the ball in his hand a lot, he can have the ball in his hands. Colby Rogers, the transfer from Wichita State, not so much, but it's not out of the question. He can't, in certain times, be a ball handler and bring the ball up the court, but he's more your three-point shooting specialist. But it's very interesting, the crossover between those two teams, the Grizz and the Tigers. But the Tigers yesterday, again, watching them play, seemed like the chemistry is there because they have been together all summer long, and the players that we had a chance to interview basically reiterated that. Doesn't mean they're going to be a great basketball team. But they played hard. They have a couple of guys that stood out. Harris, the freshman, Jared Harris, looked pretty good. I would think he's a rotation player. They're not a real deep team, but they don't have to be. You don't have to go 10, 11 deep. You don't have to. Penny likes to use a long bench. He has in the past, but I think they're very solid from 1 through 10. But again, last year I walked out of practices the first time I watched, and I was enamored with them. I thought, oh my gosh, this is Sweet 16 Elite 8 team. And who knows, if they didn't implode because of NIL issues and squabbling and lack of chemistry, then injury, maybe they would have been. But they weren't. This team, again, I don't know if the expectations will be that high. I don't think they will, so maybe they sneak up on a lot of people. Penny's happy with his team. He's excited about his team. Of course, all coaches are at this point of the year, and we'll see. That's just some thoughts of what I saw from the Tigers. Of course, the Grizzlies are back in town after wrapping up their camp. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. They will get ready for the open practice on Sunday, so fans could go to FedEx Forum and watch the Grizzlies free of charge. And then their first preseason game, their first of 5, will be on Monday. Jenkins Floors and More, you know them as our third hour sponsor, and I'll tell you more about them in our third hour. But if you are looking for flooring and carpeting, this place is for you. Head on down to Horn Lake. Easy drive from anywhere in the metropolitan Memphis area. 2356 Goodman Road. Their new showroom is open, a big warehouse with all the flooring and carpeting and everything you need to spruce up that house. They have it for you at Jenkins Floors and More. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, plantation shutters and blinds, ceramic and porcelain tiles, on and on and on. They sell it wholesale. Skip the middleman, save you lots of money in the process. Look, they can do the job for you, and they can do it in a 2-week turnaround. Let Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins and the fine folks at Jenkins Floors and More come to you and give you a free estimate. Just call them. Set that up at 662-469-9350. They're open Monday through Saturday if you want to stop by any of their 3 locations. Perfect for do-it-yourself homeowners, for contractors. Go there and see what they have to offer. Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake, Mississippi. When we come back, John Varlas from the Daily Memphian. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 at 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. It didn't take them long. Genesis Diamonds is now the undisputed value leader here in Memphis. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and people who have gone into Genesis Diamonds with a budget have often left spending less than they thought they would, and they end up with a better diamond, a bigger diamond, and a nicer ring. I'm telling you, Genesis has disrupted the old-school jewelry store scene right here in Memphis. It starts with value. Genesis is a direct diamond importer where they get their diamonds from the world's best diamond cutters with no middleman. I call it extreme value. Genesis is also the authorized retailer for all the top bridal bridal designers, so they have the rings on every woman's wish list. They back up every purchase with a 100% free lifetime warranty. That means no charge ever for things like sizing or cleaning. All this in a fun, relaxed environment with no commission salespeople, no pressure of any kind, and no retail pricing games. We've needed a place like this for years here in Memphis, and now Genesis is here. It's quite a change from other jewelry stores with traditional prices, limited selection, and insane markups. Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended in Poplar Commons.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Then do Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekend. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70, fall is football.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli locations at Ridgeway in the Parkplace Center, Upper Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Ranch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text TAP to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart's. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text TAP to 42424. That's TAP to 42424.
Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Lots of our fans have gone to see Genesis Diamonds, and they are amazed. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and Genesis is fast becoming the go-to place for people here when it comes to engagement rings and fine designer jewelry. They also have a ton of luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Genesis guarantees the best diamond prices, period. They are a direct diamond importer with no middleman, which means incredible value for you. Genesis turned the old-school jewelry business model upside down with slimmer margins, more selection, no commission salespeople, and stronger warranties. They have every diamond you can imagine, natural and lab-grown diamonds in every shape and every size. Genesis has thousands of designer engagement rings from top designers that you won't find at other stores. And keep this in mind with the holidays around the corner. Genesis has case after case of incredible diamond fashion rings, diamond eternity bands, diamond earrings, diamond necklaces. Showroom with great local experts who will teach you how to buy like a dealer buys. Genesis Diamonds, you will love it at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. An accident westbound I-40 over here at Highway 64 has got it backed up all the way to Canada Road. Chambers Chapel is just crawling now, coming in from Fayette County on 40 westbound near Highway 64 on this accident. One car has turned sideways into the guardrail, and this looks like this is going to cause some more delays here in the next few minutes because there's so much traffic flow coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County over here on 40 westbound as they clean up this wreck near Highway 64. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service family-owned jewelry store. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. 7:30 the time. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli off today. He returns to the show on Monday. Of course, it's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for John Varlas.
For Greg and Eli's weekly visit with John Varlas on Daily Memphian. Check out John's prep sports coverage and much more at dailymemphian.com. John is brought to you by Shoot 360 Memphis, where pros and preps go to get their shot on. Shoot 360 Memphis. Now here's John Varlas with Greg and Eli.
He is the award-winning prep reporter for the Daily Memphian, but so much more. He's John Varlas. He joins us every Friday. You can follow him on Twitter at John Varlas. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Greg. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Hopefully you're doing well, John. I know there's a lot to get to. We had games last night. We'll get to the games that are on the docket for tonight, some doozies before we do anything, before we get to your bone or bones that you must pick. We must talk about the great sponsor. You're sponsored by, of course, Shoot 360 Memphis.
Shoot 360 Memphis, now open out there on Big Orange Road in Cordova, in the original location there on Collierville on Market Street. Both facilities are great. People are great. The equipment is great. The technology is outstanding. And Shoot 360 Memphis, they will get you right. We are on the cusp of a new basketball season. So mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, coaches, especially if you have a team, if you have a youngster interested in basketball, getting into basketball, any age level, boy, girl, Shoot 360 is the place. They have the cutting edge technology to help improve your shot. They have the passing bays as well to help you with your ball distribution. That new Cordova location has the full size high school courts, full size NBA courts, 4 shooting bays. I mean, and all with the gamification and the great technology used by pros like Steph Curry. So that's Shoot 360 Memphis. Call them in Cordova, 901-779-3176, or you can call them in Collierville at 901-316-5500. You can be a member at one, both. You can do monthly memberships. You can do long-term memberships. They'll set you up with a tour if you just want to go check it out and see for yourself. But it's a great place. It's the best place I know to improve your basketball skills. Shoot 360 Memphis, and tell them JV sent you.
All right, JV, it is bone picking time. What's up?
Well, Greg, you are old enough, and probably a lot of our listeners today are old enough to remember when baseball was the national pastime.
Sure.
And now, unfortunately, false equivalencies are the new national pastime. And I think we saw a lot of that with the passing of Pete Rose. So my bone is with the people who have the take, and they were quick to rush it out on social media that Pete Rose was banned from the Hall of Fame for gambling, and yet Major League Baseball is sponsored by all these gambling sites, and every other commercial is for a gambling site, and it's just the false equivalency of it that irks me because you, Greg Gaston, Eli Seegers, myself, we can bet on baseball. That's not against the rules. It's not against the rules of our job. It's not against the rules of what we've signed up for. It's not against the rules of our contract. We can bet on baseball. Pete Rose could not bet on baseball, and that unfortunately was his undoing. Do I think that should keep him out of the Hall of Fame? I don't necessarily think it should, because I think you can't tell the story of the history of baseball without Pete Rose. But he did the thing, Greg. He did the one thing that, he was told explicitly, and every major league player is told explicitly not to do. And in fact, for many, 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 many years after it, he was unrepentant about it. So, to draw the false equivalency that somehow Pete Rose should be let off the hook, or somehow excused, or somehow, put in the Hall of Fame because sports gambling is now legal, and Major League Baseball and every other league in America is in bed with these gambling companies, to me, it's just ludicrous. And if we want to revisit the Pete Rose conversation, we can do that on its own merits, but not for the reason because gambling is so prevalent in sports nowadays.
That's an interesting take, not your take, but it's interesting because I hadn't heard that. Most people that I've heard, and I'll get a I can't wait for Dave Sampson to come on the show and get his opinion. But from people that I've heard from or what I've read is basically either they think he should never get in, it doesn't matter that he's dead, or that he should get in, but not because baseball is now legal. It is interesting, though, that everything changed for Reggie Bush once they've instituted NIL. Again, when he was playing, you couldn't take any money. You couldn't get money under the table, right? You couldn't do the things that, again, he was accused and his family was accused of doing, and now it's all kind of water under the bridge.
Yeah.
So, but it's everything except baseball. It's amazing. Pete Rose is treated like he is John Dillinger.
Well, and you can make a case that that's rightfully so. You can also make the case that separate from that, his career and here, Greg. I mean, I grew up as a huge fan of the Big Red Machine. I mean, I could sit here now and recite the batting order from memory for you. I mean, all those guys. It was great baseball. It was a great team, and I and many others were huge fans. However, as I said earlier, he did the one thing that you're simply not allowed to do as a baseball player, and they'll, as we've seen with some other people that are in the Hall of Fame, they'll overlook a lot of other things, but they're not going to overlook that.
That is true.
And it's and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he and baseball never came to some sort of a resolution or like a détente of sorts, before he died. That's sad. And now he's gone, and now it's too late. He'll, if he goes in the Hall of Fame, he'll never be able to appreciate it, and that is sad. But, it was incumbent upon him, to at least be a willing participant in that while he was alive. I
understand.
Think.
I understand.
So it's a tough situation.
Well, I like your take that you said that.
Yeah, but John, and with Reggie Bush suing the NCAA. I mean, should you and I go back? Are we allowed now to go back and sue our employers because when we were working, the minimum wage was a lot less than it is now?
Where's the statute of limitations?
Where's our back pay? I mean, it's ridiculous.
But
the rule is a rule.
To wrap it up, though, I like the point that you made that you're not necessarily against him getting in posthumously. So we'll leave it at that. That's a discussion for another time. But I've made it clear, Eli's made it clear that we both believe that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. All right, high school football. Last night, as there always is, several games on Thursday, including Collierville. They roll and they remain unbeaten. Collierville will have a showdown with Houston. Have Collierville played Germantown yet?
Oh, Greg, geez, I can't remember. Okay,
no problem. The point is,
they do have a game coming up with Houston.
That's at the end of the year because there's Houston's schedule right there. If you can see that.
Yeah, that's the last game of the year.
Okay.
I can't remember if they've played Collierville. Somebody please text in and help me because I'm drawing a blank on that.
My question is Collierville?
I don't think they've played Germantown. They've played Bartlett. They have played. Or they haven't played Whitehaven. So I don't have the schedule.
That's okay, but
this is horrible radio. I apologize.
No. That's okay. You're riled up from the Pete Rose.
Yeah, I am.
Is it possible, and it wouldn't be a stretch, that Collierville's the best team in the area?
Well, they're playing some really good football, and that victory last week against Germantown last Friday was extremely interesting because, Greg, they somehow managed to win that game.
Well, there you go. You just answered your question, right? Collierville beat Germantown.
I did. Greg, it was raining. My brain is probably still not dry from that. You know how it was last Friday. But it's interesting because they won that game against a really, really good Germantown team despite only gaining 73 total yards from scrimmage. And, Greg, they did not have a single yard from scrimmage in the entire first half. They're in the second half, excuse me. Their second half was the offense was like the Radio City Music Hall Rockettes. It was 1, 2, 3 kick throughout the entire second half. It was a really not great offensive performance, but they still found a way to win that game. And to your point, that's what good teams do. They win the games where they're not at their best. So yeah, they won that one. Then they blew out White Station last week. They're 7-0. They're ranked number 5 in the state. Among Class 6A teams, they're ranked number 4 in our Dandy Dozen. And yeah, they got a really good team with a lot of terrific players. Grant Troutman at quarterback. I mean, your guy Samuel Ero leading the defense. I mean, Joseph Hampton at running back, Emmanuel Palmer at receivers having a good season. Kylan Holmes intercepted 2 passes in that Germantown game. So, yeah, they've got some dudes and, well coached with Coach Fracconi. But are they the best team in the region? The city, I mean, that remains to be seen. But they're 7-0, and that's something that nobody can say today.
Can't wait for that Collierville-Houston game. As far as other games last night, Sheffield a winner over Raleigh, Egypt, I believe they played. And then also last night you had who else last night? We had
Sheffield.
Mace.
Mace is really rolling after that week 1 loss to Lausanne. I mean, they've won 5 in a row since then. 4 of those have been by shutout. So shout out to Coach Miller and his men, Stanley Burrow. Check this out, Greg. So last Friday's game against Peabody High School out of Trenton, they're a little down, but they're a perennial power. Stanley Burrow, check this game out. 18 tackles, 5 tackles for lost yardage. He forced a fumble. He recovered a fumble. He intercepted 2 passes, one of which he returned for a touchdown.
Jeez.
Have you ever heard of a defensive game like that?
Take over the game on the defensive side. That's what he did.
And it was needed because it was a low-scoring game. The final was 14-9, and Mace won that one. And then, yet last night they beat Booker T. Washington 54-0. So, yeah, they're rolling.
How about, did Lausanne play last night? Or is it tonight?
I believe it's tonight. If they played, I certainly didn't see anything about it or get a score on it.
Okay. I know St. George is struggling. Lausanne undefeated. Obviously, Lausanne's really good.
Good.
How good?
They've got dudes. I mean, quietly, I think that coaching staff feels like, Greg, if nothing happens on the injury front, because depth is a concern when you have lower numbers in your program like Lausanne does. So can't afford any injuries, especially to the key players. But but they've got the dudes, and the key for Lausanne is going to be if those young guys along the offensive line continue to progress and grow and improve like they have. The last time I saw them a couple of weeks ago against ECS, they were starting 2 freshmen along the offensive line, and usually that's a recipe for disaster. But these guys are talented players. The coaches at Lausanne obviously have a lot of confidence in them, and like I said, if they can continue to grow and progress and adapt to varsity level play, Lausanne's got the skill guys. TJ Jenkins, Joel Rogers, Keon Cooper, Lawrence Britt. I mean, those are dudes. Those are legitimate football players who can play for anybody in the state.
It is a great schedule now that I'm looking at all the games, and you send me the schedule every week. Wow. All right, we're going to get to as many as we can. I did get a text here a moment ago. I want you to talk about the seasons that Christian Brothers and Briarcrest are having, and, of course, they have the confrontation tonight. Let me ask you one more. We'll take a break, then we'll come back and get to all these games, or as many as we can. Region 8 5A, Central went down to Mississippi, I think, last week and won. Major Rights team. They're 5-1. Southwind 5-1. Great battle, or at least on paper, at Southwind tonight.
And that's going to be where the Daily Memphian Game Day crew will be rolling up to. We'll be rolling up to Southwind to check out that one, because we've seen a lot of 6A football recently. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. Like you said, Central, they lost in week 1 to what's proven to be a really, really good Whitehaven team, and since then they've won 5 games in a row. Really getting good play from Major Wright's middle son, Hayes Wright, at quarterback. He's having a tremendous season. Kavion Rucker at running back, and Andrews Farmer at wide receiver is kind of a 3-headed monster they've got there on offense. Those guys have been outstanding all year long. And then, of course, Southwind, I mean, their only loss was to a really good Munford team. So this game is going to have significant implications within the region and playoff standings and all that kind of thing. Obviously, Kelvin Perkins, the great quarterback at Southwind, and the terrific core of receivers he's got to work with. So, yeah, that's going to be a really fun game, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. I hadn't seen Central play in a long time, and haven't seen Southwind play this year, so I'm excited for that game.
We have the usual big clashes in Region 8 6A. We'll get to those in a moment. As I mentioned, John will answer that text I got on Christian Brothers and Briarcrest. Region 8 3A clash between East and Bolton, who combined for 10-2 on the season. If there's another game or team you want John to talk about, hit us up with a text on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. We'll get to all of that when we return. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, great option tonight before you go out to the high school game. If you want to tailgate with Corky's, why not? Corky's has been around for 4 decades. They've been catering the entire time. So if you want that delicious slow-smoked barbecue and all the fixins, Corky's is the answer for you for tailgating, for any type of party, for any event that you want catered, or just for lunch or dinner. It just makes sense. When you head over there for lunch, they have a lunch special. Every day. They have party packs start at just $7.49. When you get yourself your entree, get a rack of ribs, a third of a rack of ribs for $7.99. $8 for a third of a rack of ribs to enjoy those delicious ribs from Corky's. Again, that slow-smoked barbecue. They're located at Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Start out with that delicious cheese and sausage plate. The rolls are second to none that you get as a little side that comes with all the meals. Great desserts as well. And remember, you got a party coming up, birthday party, any kind of celebration, anniversary. You want to reserve their private party room? You can do so at either the Cordova or the Olive Branch locations. Just give them a jingle and set up your time and date. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. More with JV when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-909-8122. 800-909-8122. 800-909-8122.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
$7:48 the time. Hour 1 here on Sports 56 Mornings. More with John Varlas as we continue to preview what's happening tonight. The schedule looks to be a very, very good one. We had some results from last night that we talked about earlier. So let's get to that text I got about Briarcrest Christian Brothers. They go at it tonight. Aside from Lausanne, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe FACS, but aside from Lausanne, the private schools have struggled a bit, have they not?
They're not to where they usually are, Greg, and with MUS currently having a losing record, that has a lot to do with that. But yeah, Briarcrest and Christian Brothers, obviously that's a big game. It's always a bit of a rivalry when those two get together, and it's going to have a little bit of extra spice tonight because it's my understanding. Somebody told me on social media this week that the Briarcrest baseball team, which won the state championship back in May, will be presented with their championship rings tonight as part of the festivities. And ironically, the team they beat for that championship was Jason Mott and the brothers. So little I don't know what that necessarily means, but it's probably as good a night as any to do it, I would imagine. And shout out to that Briarcrest baseball team because that was a tremendous team and that was a well-earned title. But back to football.
Can I say there are no such things as coincidences?
I don't propose to. I don't propose to get into anybody's heads, Mr. Gaston. I try to take things on face value. But yes, it's yeah, it should be a good game. I really think with Christian Brothers in particular, they're going to try to rely heavily on the run tonight with Ethan Johnson, that big power back they have, and kind of mix it up with Javon Slayton and some change of pace kind of things. They're going to try to establish the run game and try to control the line of scrimmage and probably try to control possession and shorten the clock and keep Briarcrest's offense off the field. Briarcrest has been pretty potent offensively at times this year. 2 weeks ago they got that huge victory against Knoxville Catholic, which was really impressive. And, they've had some moments where they've played some really, really good football this year. So it's going to be a good test. And obviously, there will be some playoff implications in that one, like with most of these games tonight.
Region 8 5A. Now, we talked about Central and Southwind, but we also have a big one in Region 8 3A. East, the resurgence of the Mustangs. They are 5-1 versus Bolton. We've talked a lot about Bolton. They have played really well. Both teams at 5-1.
So we got a chance to go out and interview Coach Moore several days ago and check out what's going on in East. And yeah, they're really cooking up a really good season, Greg. I mean, and considering where it started. There was some conflict, and I've never been able to quite determine exactly, what, some he said and some he said and that kind of thing between, the former coach Cassius Vaughn and the administration, and it got to be a little messy, and the bottom line is, Coach Vaughn ended up leaving, early in the season. So, a lot of times in a situation like that, Greg, where the head coach leaves, the season can, completely go off the rails. But, at East, it's been totally the opposite. Coach Moore and that staff, which is comprised of several players with, several East graduates, a couple of guys who played on previous East championship teams. They've rallied the troops and they've got a really, really talented team, Greg, and it's an extremely young team as well. I mean, the quarterback is a freshman. The running back, Lorenz Wright, who's having a great season, he's an underclassman. Their offensive line is young. Calvin Macklin in the secondary, who's a really, really talented player, is, I believe, a sophomore. So they're doing, they're having a really good season. And having said all that, with Bolton, this is a big game in the region. I mean, East is undefeated in the region. Bolton has one loss, and of course, with the win last night, Sheffield also has one loss. So Sheffield's kept pace. So yeah, this is a big one for first place.
By the way, we did get some texts, and when we're trying to figure out if Collierville had played Germantown. Yes, Joe says Collierville won, and you remember that, of course, the rain night last Friday. Collierville winning at Germantown 15-12 in a classic. Matt asks if this is Briarcrest's homecoming game. Is it their homecoming tonight versus Christian Brothers?
I do not know if it's their homecoming or not. It doesn't seem like they would schedule Christian Brothers for homecoming, but I don't know.
Okay.
But go out there and find out.
in Region 8 6A, we talked about, of course, Collierville's win last night over White Stage. You got Houston at Bartlett, Whitehaven at Germantown.
Yeah.
Big games.
Huge games. So, Collierville obviously last night won, so they've stayed undefeated in the region. Whitehaven is also undefeated in the region, and I think with Germantown, there's going to be a sense of desperation tonight because Whitehaven's already lost twice in the region, and honestly, they probably can't afford to lose again if they're going to make the playoffs. And Greg, that's a family feud with Germantown and Whitehaven. Coach Gene Robinson, he's one of the great linebackers to ever lace them up at Whitehaven before going on to play at North Carolina. The defensive coordinator at Germantown, Errol Harmon, he was Coach Salisbury's defensive coordinator at Whitehaven in 2012 and 2016 when they went undefeated and won state championships, and obviously in other years where they had great seasons and great success. So there's no secrets between those two teams. I really like what Germantown's been able to do so far this year with the run game, and they really, it's not just one guy. They rely on two guys, Cavius Record and Larry Johnson, the sophomore. They kind of alternate those guys and mix them up and kind of roll with whoever's got the hot hand, and both of those guys have been really effective. Offensive line has been great for Germantown, but Whitehaven's putting together a good season. Jaden Thomas at quarterback, Christopher Talley at running back. They've got tremendous size up front. And like I said, there's going to be no secrets between these two teams. So, I mean, this is going to be a heavyweight battle and, just a flat-out brawl tonight.
All right, and I got a couple more questions for you. We're running short on time. Houston and Bartlett?
Yeah, both of those teams are coming off losses last week. Bartlett lost to Grenada. Houston went down to Tupelo and lost. So, none of those games obviously affected the region. But, obviously both of those teams are going to want to play better this week. And again, if you're Bartlett, you probably can't afford a loss tonight in this situation.
Some other interesting non-region games: Horn Lake 4-1 at Brighton, 3-3. You have DeSoto Central 4-1 at Grenada, 4-1, just to name a few. Okay, the Darren McFadden. I asked you last week that we need to ask about that because his son, what's his name, Darius?
Darius or Darian.
Darian.
Yeah.
Playing for who?
For Briarcrest.
Okay, what's the connection?
I wasn't able to. I forgot that you had asked that, Greg, and I apologize. I did not do my assignment. So all I know is that Darren McFadden's son plays for Briarcrest, and he's there and having a terrific season. I don't know what the connection is, and I apologize for not following up with you on that.
That's okay.
Perhaps if there's a listener that knows, he could text right quick. But yeah, I feel bad about not following up.
That's right. When I saw that story, I was like, wait. The great Darren McFadden's son is playing in Memphis. Obviously, Darren McFadden was with a woman from Memphis, I would assume, whether it's his girlfriend, he got somebody pregnant, is married. I don't know. I'm trying to get that information, but that's cool because, genes are good in athletes, right? So
genes are good, and you're going down a road with Darren McFadden's personal life.
I know. I'm just curious why. I want to find out because I want to know more about the son, who's probably a budding superstar. And then, real quick, the Hamilton football program is a mess. They forfeited their game that was scheduled for tonight or maybe last night?
For tonight, yeah.
For tonight against Melrose. So Melrose gets a walkover. But this time it's player shortages. So I'm assuming there has been basically a walkout, a mutiny since all the coaches were let go?
I don't know that it's fair to call it a walkout or a mutiny. It's
okay.
I think it's just natural.
It's just injuries?
It's just natural attrition, Greg. A lot of these programs that it's not unique to Hamilton. A lot of these programs really operate on a fine line in terms of roster numbers. I know, for example, talking to Coach Moore at East, they were preparing for a game against Douglas when, the week I was out there talking to him, and, there was some concern on the east side that game might not be played because, Douglas was struggling with numbers throughout the week. So it's just a really thin margin with injuries. If you've got 20, 25 players on your roster and, 5, 6 of them turn up hurt or, sick or, have other issues, I mean, that impacts things tremendously. And then, of course, with Hamilton, you do have to factor in given the instability of the coaching situation and what's going on with that. So that complicates things as well. But it's not necessarily a unique problem to Hamilton, but it is a problem that a lot of our city schools unfortunately deal with the numbers game.
By the way, Darren McFadden, who everybody knows starred at Arkansas, is from Little Rock, so not that far down the road. 2-time Doak Walker Award winner. Just how great that guy was. And if his son is even half as good as what he is, he's a superstar in the making. So, yes, do your homework for me. Let me know next Friday. Make sure to follow John tonight. Help him out on Twitter at John Varlas. Of course, he'll have you covered with all the great storylines and all the scores, not only on Twitter, but, of course, his stories at the Daily Memphian. John, as always, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Greg. I feel like I let you down a little bit.
No, you didn't. You never do.
Okay. And if you had told me that Darren McFadden was a 2-time Doak Walker winner, I would not have believed it. I mean, great player, obviously, but
2 times.
Didn't realize he was that great.
He was.
He's awesome.
When we come back, we'll open up hour 2 with Dave Sampson, the former president of the Marlins, as we'll talk Major League Baseball postseason, and Pete Rose with him. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for unlimited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Whitten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their product. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called God Hopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Down I-40 westbound, certain sections there between Canada Road, Chambers Chapel, all the way down to Sycamore View Road. It's trying to load up with a little bit more volume over here on 385 Billmore Parkway as you come inbound, getting on that ramp there to 240. Coming up from the south on 55 northbound up to South Haven, it actually looks pretty good at the moment. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Make sure you stop by and see them first. You'll save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Genuine diamonds, baby.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Hour number 2. Just 2 hours away from my weekend getting started. Welcome back to Sports 56 Mornings. Welcome in if you're just tuning in. Greg Gaston, producer Elijah Seegers. Eli off today. He is celebrating this weekend his 50th birthday. So make sure to text him or email him and tell him happy birthday. He'll be back on the program on Monday. We are broadcasting live and in color from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. Go visit them this weekend as their spa sale continues. It's the world's biggest spa sale. 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 63. It's going to get up to 89 today. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit of clouds. Then tonight, it will be clear skies, 65 for a low. The weekend looks to be delightful, although warm. Again, we're looking at temperatures reaching back into the 90s, the low 90s anyway, but still, any thought of summer being done, forget about it. We got summer temperatures for at least the weekend, and then next week looks to be like a lot of sunshine with temperatures dropping into the mid to upper 70s. That's more like it for fall. Dave Sampson joins us in just a moment to talk all types of things, but especially baseball. The playoffs are here. October baseball, there is nothing better. Later on in the hour, we'll talk soccer with Lawrence Dockery. 9:05, we'll have 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. And then at 9:25, Brandon Lang, the handicapper extraordinaire, will break down some of the big NFL and college football games this weekend. Without further ado, he is the host of the Nothing Personal podcast, a weekly contributor to the Dan Lebitard Show, CBS Sports HQ, and the former president of the Marlins, so a guy who knows a thing or two about baseball. He's Dave Sampson. He joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. Dave, how are you?
Hey, what's going on this morning?
Man, everything is going on. Perfect timing to have you on the program to talk some baseball. But I know we have talked in the past about a polarizing human being who's now left this earth, and that is Pete Rose. Your thoughts on Pete Rose, the passing of Pete Rose, and, of course, the always debatable topic of Hall of Fame.
Well, let's start with the player. The player, Pete Rose, is a Hall of Famer, one of the best 5 players to ever play the game. He had every tool. He was successful everywhere he went. And just to put it in perspective with how many hits he got, you'd have to play 21 years and get 200 hits a year, and then you still wouldn't catch him. You'd need to come back for your 22nd year. It's absurd. Nobody plays that long, and the way baseball is, nobody gets hits like that. I think this year 2 guys hit over 200 hits total in baseball. So he was that good, and he loved baseball in a way that every time you were with him, it just oozed out of him. That's the player. The problem is the person. The other stuff that oozed out of him was addiction, was narcissism, was gambling, was denial, was misdirection, was lack of remorse. There was just all this stuff going on where he could never get past the permanent eligibility suspension given to him by baseball. And the way he tried to get back, it never worked. And then his destiny was that he would die without being in the Hall of Fame. which is pretty much what he thought would happen, and now it's happened. So I feel both sadness, I feel a slight amount of sorry, but I also recognize that some people do it to themselves.
Yeah, and you've kind of alluded to that before when we've talked about this topic. So I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you don't believe even posthumously anytime down the road he should be in the Hall of Fame. Correct me if I'm wrong, but also, do you believe that the people who actually vote on this stuff one day will put him on the ballot, or will the Veterans Committee will get him in? Do you think Pete Rose one day posthumously will be in Cooperstown?
I don't, because you can't be on the permanently ineligible list and be considered by any of the committees. And he didn't get a lifetime ban. People get that wrong. He's on the permanently ineligible list. So death doesn't take you off that list. And I just don't believe there's a commissioner out there who is going to take him off the list. I don't believe that they want to do that to Giamatti or to Bud Selig or now to Rob Manfred when he is done being commissioner. I think it's one of those things where he didn't have a chance. Now, the funny part, and I don't want to take too much of your time on this, but think about what's happening with the Menendez brothers right now. They're having a moment where it's possible they could get out of prison because of their documentary and all of the social media support and all the attention that it's getting. So is there a time, like in 20 or 30 years, when something could happen with Pete Rose? I guess so, but if you're talking the immediate future, I'd say no.
Yeah, look, and we differ in our opinions, and you know, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's our opinions. We're entitled to that. It's just amazing to me. Now we got Reggie Bush suing because when he played, you couldn't take money. NIL wasn't a part of football. Now it is, so they're going back in time, and I guess it's fine to give him back his Heisman, and everything is all right now in the world of Reggie Bush because now they pay the players. But they didn't when he was playing. The Menendez brothers, could you imagine they get off because of that kind of stuff? Yet Pete Rose seems to be the hardened criminal of criminals. He is the Dillinger. He is the Capone. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, you bet on baseball. I get it. I mean, the holier-than-thou attitude of baseball just drives me crazy. And, of course, you know, you were a big part of that, being the president of the Marlins.
Listen, I understand your point of view. I absolutely do, and it's compelling. On the other hand, you have to have a third rail somewhere. And betting on baseball, you know, it's just something, especially now, with the way sports has embraced the gambling companies and gambling and promotes it, and it's part of the everyday broadcast and everyday world we live in. Mm-hmm. Especially now, you've got to put the integrity of the game at the top of the list, which is why you'll see Roger Goodell or Adam Silver punishing players maybe disproportionately for doing things, because you've got to show the world, hey, we're not wrestling. This isn't scripted. We have to have integrity. So that's another reason why I think it will not be anytime soon for Rose to be forgiven.
Fair enough. Dave Sampson is joining us on the program. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. He's joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines. Real quick, before we dive into what's been happening on the field in the postseason, give me one of the players that played under you in your leadership as president of the Marlins who you would most equate to Charlie Hustle as far as playing the way Charlie played, or the way Pete played as Charlie Hustle.
Juan Pierre.
Juan Pierre.
The example. Juan Pierre. Juan Pierre came to play every single day. Every day. He didn't want to miss a game. He played hard. He ran out every ground ball. He didn't take one at-bat off. Not one, not ever. He was someone who was the catalyst for our team, and he may have looked slight in his oversized uniform, but let me tell you, in the clubhouse, that man is no small man. He is ripped, and I don't mean steroid ripped. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about in shape and just phenomenal. And that's the first person I thought of when you mentioned that.
You could have got him a better belt, like cinch it in, make it look a little better.
Listen, they dress themselves. What do you want from me?
Exactly. Managerial news with Terry Francona coming out of retirement. Is this like a trend now? Bochy did it. Now it's Francona. If people haven't heard the news, he's going to come out of retirement and manage the Reds.
it broke like as Alonso's home run ball was going over the fence and the Mets were taking the lead. It's like they pressed send right at that moment. It's just unbelievable. I don't know if it's like Reinsdorf hiring Tony La Russa in Chicago or Bochy going to Texas, but the reason why Francona left Cleveland, it's not that they were ready to get rid of him. It's that he had some health issues, and he's better now, and the Guardians have themselves a great young manager in Stephen Voigt, but I was shocked. Now, I understand 30 jobs. You're a manager. You want to manage. Francona is 65. 65 is the new 45. I understand all of it. But, man, turning around the Reds and working for Bob Castellini, that will be no easy task. This will test his mettle and his patience. I don't see this as a long-term fit at all unless Castellini sells the team, because I think Castellini will make him crazy. And Terry doesn't suffer fools gladly. So I would be slightly concerned about how this is going to work.
So I tweeted out yesterday that I believe home field advantage in baseball is a myth. What is going on? These road teams in the postseason, especially since the wild card has gone to a best 2 of 3. It's just, it doesn't seem to be what it used to be when I was growing up, that, man, if you had the home field, you really had the advantage because you had the crowd with you. Now these road teams go anywhere and win, and that was the case in 3 of these 4 series. And who knows if Atlanta was healthy, if they wouldn't have beaten the Padres. But 3 out of the 4 roadies.
Yeah, so think about in the NBA, you played a game 7 at home, you're going to win. It has changed now in the past few years. Baseball this has been going on for a while, but I want to clarify something. When we would want to have home field advantage and have the top seeding, we weren't doing that because we thought that gave us an advantage on the field. We were doing that because it gave us revenue off the field. That's why you want more home games. You want the home field advantage to get the more home games in order to get the extra revenue.
So
the reality
so nobody
is,
believes, Dave? Nobody believes that it helps you to have the home crowd behind you?
There's a bunch of people who say the players like sleeping in their own bed. Let me tell you, half the players would rather not be in their own bed, and they'd rather be in a hotel. So forget that one. The players, they love the creature comfort of the habit of going from their home to the ballpark and the home clubhouse. It's total horse hockey. Players are fine on the road. They're fine going to the road clubhouse. It's not uncomfortable. Trust me, there's nothing uncomfortable about the way they travel. There's nothing bad about it. So the reality is, from a competitive standpoint, whether you bat last in the 9th inning where you get last lick, so to speak, that is a maybe teensy-tiny advantage, but I mean teensy-tiny. At the end of the day, give me a better starting rotation and bullpen, and I don't care where we play. I like my chances. So all of this stuff about working hard to get home field advantage, that's not really what teams are doing. They're working hard to get into the playoffs no matter what the seed is, or to win the division in order to get a bye.
Dave Sampson, host of the Nothing Personal podcast. You need to check it out, folks. It's terrific. He's joining us on the program. You also can see him on the Le Batard Show, CBS Sports HQ. He's the former president of the Marlins. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. All right, before I ask you your picks for the divisional round, what is it about baseball? And I'm 63 in a couple of weeks. I've been watching baseball quite a long time. And my memory is always in the postseason. Now, the stars will be stars, but there's always these dudes that just step up and become cold heroes, pinch hitting or spot starting or coming in to pitch and stymieing a rally, whatever, and they become cold heroes because they're nobodies, really no names. They're not nobodies. They're obviously professional baseball players. But the Brian Doyles of the world, I remember growing up and guys like that. But look at the guys that have been coming through over the last few days in the wild card. Just yesterday, the Milwaukee Mets game with Jake Bauers and then Sal Frelick hitting the back-to-back home runs. The other day you had the Andy Ibanez bases clearing double. I mean, again, guys that are these pinch hit home runs. What is it, Dave, about these guys seemingly becoming cold heroes in the postseason?
Well, I'll push back a little bit and say that no one's a cult hero by getting your team out of the wild card round. cult heroes, they will build themselves over the course of a postseason. You've got to get your team to advance. I would ask, do you remember who lost the wild card series round last year? Like any recollection? Because I'm terrible at that.
Me too.
I remember that the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies in the LCS, and that the Rangers, I'm trying to remember who the Rangers even beat. The Astros. They must have beaten the Astros because they made it every year. But the fact is that what is so amazing about October baseball is that players have an opportunity. The way of baseball, the rhythm of baseball, it's going to sound very James Earl Jonesy, but the rhythm of baseball means that there's area and room to breathe for people to become these heroes in moments. There's so many possible moments to get created.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in an NBA game, unless you're down 1 or 2 points at the end of the game, you really don't have the opportunity for that shot, that Ray Allen shot in the NBA Finals, that moment where that's iconic. Baseball is just a world of possibilities for iconic moments. And the other thing I will tell you is nobody's heard of anyone on the Tigers or on the Guardians or on the Royals other than Bobby Witt. So the thought is that everybody is this sort of cultish hero who no one's, where did he come from? But the reality is, if you're in baseball, you look at the Tigers and say, let me tell you, they're a better team than the Astros. They are a better team than the Guardians. They could win the World Series. It's just because you've never heard of them. That's really not the issue. And I'm not saying you personally, but in general, the issue is their bullpen is so good, you better get the lead. And Skubal, he may not lose a game through the World Series because he's unhittable. So you look at teams like that and players like that, and that's why October's so great.
Yet they were about 16 games under 500 at the All-Star break. Baseball is a crazy, crazy sport that we all love. All right, your picks. Mets, Phillies. I know you're from New York, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
I'm a South Jersey guy. Grew up with the Phillies. That's my team. So be very careful here, Dave. You might be, standing on thin ice here when you make this prediction. Mets and Phillies.
Let me give you a stat. Every time the Milwaukee Brewers get eliminated from the playoffs, every time, the team that eliminates them at least wins the pennant.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Go check it. It's the craziest stat of a sport with crazy stats. This is the craziest one. Either when you beat the Brewers, you win the pennant or win the World Series, but you go to the World Series every single time. Last year, the Diamondbacks beat the Brewers, and we said there's no way this can continue, and the Diamondbacks somehow beat the Phillies and go to the World Series. The Nationals beat the Brewers, and we were like, there's no way the Nationals are going to the World Series, Soto or no Soto. They go to the World Series and win it. The Dodgers, during COVID, beat the Brewers. Wow, they're going to get this done, and they did. On and on and on.
Damn, Brewers lose a lot, don't they?
Well, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. But yes, they've never won a World Series, that franchise, which always made me angry that people would get mad at me in Miami for what I did when I'd say, you've got 2 rings. How about San Diego, Tampa? How about Milwaukee? Nothing. 0. Colorado? Nada. Anyway, I digress. I'm going with the Phillies. The Phillies are just the better team, start to finish. But the Brewers thing makes me nervous, I'll tell you that.
Well, you zagged when you were starting to zig. I don't know where you were going with that one, but okay, the picks of the Phillies. Real quick, Tigers, Guardians?
I'm going with the Tigers.
Yeah, they're just red hot right now.
They're just good. They're hot. They're good. But by the way, the Guardians bullpen's fun to watch too.
David versus Goliath. Is the slingshot going to be used? Is it what's happening there in that one between the Royals and the Yankees?
I hate that I'm picking the Yankees because I think the Royals are actually better, but I think they're going to get a little overwhelmed by the moment, and I think that Soto and Judge cannot be eliminated in round 1. They just won't allow it.
And, boy, this could be fun. Padres, Dodgers, maybe play the over in every game because the offenses of these two teams. What do you think?
I think that everyone is taking the Dodgers because they're the Dodgers, and they're not paying attention to the teams. The Padres are the better team. I'm taking the Padres. They're slight underdogs, which is amazing, but I'm taking the Padres over the Dodgers. It's nice that Shohei will get his first playoff at bat, but the depth of the Padres will shine through.
He is the great David Sampson. Make sure to check out his podcast. It is absolutely terrific. So many different topics. It's called the Nothing Personal Podcast. You can hear him weekly on the Le Batard Show, CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. Dave, it's always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the postseason. I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road.
I can't wait. Have a great day and weekend. Thank you.
You too, Dave. Thank you. Guy's great. Poked a little fun there at your Colorado Rockies, didn't he?
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Yeah, he was part of that. They won 2 World Series titles in Miami, and each time they won a World Series title, they had a fire sale.
Just thinking about all the guys that they had who have blossomed into great players now.
But they had them. They had the collection of them. They won. Then they made money by trading these players and cutting down salary. But then again, did they really? Because nobody came to the games after that. Then they built it up again, won another one. That was Huizenga as the owner, but he was the president of that team, the Marlins. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk some soccer with Lawrence Dockery. James Gaddis Jewelers is the second-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. They're your family's jeweler. 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. This weekend is a perfect time if you are in the market for any type of jewelry, whether it is an engagement ring or wedding ring, personally designed wedding sets, or any other type of jewelry like watches and earrings and necklaces and bracelets, pendants. They have one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. Good time this weekend to check out the great folks at James Gaddis Jewelers. Now, every Monday and Friday, they present to you the Memphis Sports Fact. Again, James Gaddis Jewelers, sponsor of the second hour of the program. They bring you the Memphis Sports Fact. Did you know the University of Memphis women's soccer team defeated Charlotte last night 2-1, rallying from an early 1-0 deficit? It was the Tigers' 17th straight home victory. That's the longest winning streak in the country. Again, go visit my friends at James Gaddis Jewelers this weekend or anytime. The second hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. Lawrence Dockery is next. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Is your house or your office building? Impossible! Not. Call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
It's football season, and nothing goes better with Game Time Eats than chicken wings. It's a tradition like no other, but not just any wings. It's the seasoning that makes the chicken wing. And nobody does it better than the Crazy Coop at 7199 Stage Road, west of Abilene, and soon coming to downtown Memphis. Over 32 mouth-watering secret sauces and counting, like the jalapeno cheddar and the barbecue bacon bourbon. And don't bother asking them for the secret recipes. No matter how large your tailgating is or the family at home, kick off your game day with Crazy Coop party packs plus special bulk prices. Visit crazycoopstage.com to customize your wings and sauces. Whole wings, boneless wings. Try the Crazy Hot Suicide if you dare. Add Parmesan fries and fried dill pickles. And don't forget the carrots and celery sticks. For the full menu, which includes juicy burgers, catfish fillets, chicken nuggies, and crazy kid meals, go to crazycoopstage.com. That's crazycoopstage.com. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Sports 56 traffic.
Traffic trying to get in from Fayette County now into Shelby County. So some would say right on schedule, actually, over here on 40 westbound. As you work your way past Germantown Parkway up to Sycamore View Road, it's loading up with some more volume on Billmores Parkway westbound as you come past Riverdale, headed up to 240. Coming up from the south, not bad, actually, on 55 northbound up through South Haven. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area now for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them, shop local, save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:30 the time, halfway home on this Friday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli off today. He returns to the program on Monday. Lawrence Dockery joins us in just a moment to talk all things soccer. I was talking earlier about going to the University of Memphis basketball pro day yesterday. After the pro day, Penny Hardaway talking about his team. I'd mentioned all this, but I forgot to mention this. I neglected to tell you that Penny was asked about his roster and is it complete? And shockingly, and I'll tell you why I was shocked, because Penny has added players at all different times throughout the years that he's been at Memphis. He said, they asked him if the roster was complete. He said, might add another player. I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's no way that player could play in the first semester, correct? I mean, we're in October, for goodness sakes. I don't know the rules anymore in collegiate sports. I don't know who's eligible. Guys are like 50 years old. They're still juniors. I don't know. But you could add a player, I would think, for the second semester. But maybe you still add a player in October. Anyway, that's what he said. Surprised me just a little bit in the sense that would that player be able to participate right now? Not that Penny is always on the lookout to add, because he is always looking to enhance and better that roster as much as he can. We better our show every time we talk soccer by bringing on this young man, because he has his finger on the pulse of local soccer, national, and soccer around the world. Really does a great job. He's a writer for World Soccer Talk. He's the host of the 901 Soccer Podcast, which is on Bluff City Media. You can follow him on Twitter at LDoc93. My friend Lawrence Dockery joining us now. How are you, man?
I'm good, Greg. I do have to steal a turn of phrase from our pal John Varlas. I got just a little bit of a bone to pick with you. You stole my thunder with the fact of the day in the last segment. I was
yes.
all set to talk
You know what
about...
happens a lot, Lawrence? A lot of times John will say something not knowing, and that ends up being my Friday or Monday Did You Know segment topic. So, yeah, well, I was going to start there anyway with this. Look, Brooks Monaghan is an unbelievable assessor of talent. He's a great coach. The women's team lost a lot of talent from last year, and here they are again just doing what they do, and that's winning soccer matches.
Yeah, you're not kidding. They lost a ton of talent. They were a very senior-heavy team last year. They lost their captain, Maya Jones, who was a pick in the third round of the NWSL draft last year. And I think we've gotten to a point with Memphis women's soccer where it's no longer rebuild, it's reload. and they're eight. I believe they're 8-1-1 this year. They played 10 games and they've won 8 of them. They've got some impressive wins. They went on the road and beat Missouri. They went on the road. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Iowa State at home. They beat Kansas State at home. The one loss on the season was probably the one that Tiger fans would have wanted the most. They lost on the road at Tennessee. But you mentioned they've got the longest active home win streak in all of women's college soccer. That's crazy. So, I mean, you got to go back, I think, to probably halfway through the 2022 season to find the last home loss. So they've got it rolling, and I don't foresee it slowing down anytime soon. And one of the things that is most impressive about the way Brooks Monaghan manages that team is that he doesn't allow them to get comfortable and rest on their laurels. It's not a case of, well, we're 8-1-1 with some good wins, so we're in good shape. No, they keep pedal to the metal and they stay focused and they stay dialed in.
I wonder what the perception of that program is from around the country, because that program is getting better and better and better. They're winning big games over big programs. But I don't know if that perception is as strong as maybe my perception, that I believe this is now become a national program that's a top-tier program. Even though they haven't won a national championship, I understand that. I believe that they are now a women's soccer powerhouse.
I think they're on the way if they can keep this up. I would almost liken it to Gonzaga basketball in the sense that, for the longest time, Gonzaga was the Cinderella that you maybe didn't want to play, but if you were a big enough program, you felt like it wasn't going to be a problem. And then Gonzaga just started winning 30 games every single year and going to the Sweet 16 or better every single year. And I think that might be where we're at with Memphis women's soccer. They are, they've gone to back-to-back Sweet 16s, but I don't know, they had a lot of first or second round exits prior to that in the NCAA tournament. But, they've won 3. They've been to 6 or 7 of the last 8 NCAA tournaments and 6 straight. They've, like I said, back-to-back Sweet 16s. They've won 3 straight conference titles. I think last year they won 18-2, and you can't get much better than 18-2. But I don't know that I would use the word national powerhouse just quite yet. I think the power in women's college soccer is all concentrated in the ACC and what used to be known as the Pac-12. But, like, for example, Florida State women's soccer has won 4 of the last 10 national titles.
Wow.
But
that's a dynasty. That's what you call a dynasty. That's more than a powerhouse. But your comparison, I think, is spot on. That's a really good comparison by talking Gonzaga and comparing them. All right, let's move on from the women at the University of Memphis to Memphis 901 FC. They got 2 more home games to play, including one this Saturday, as they are looking to be in the postseason for a 4th straight year. What is their situation with the games that they have remaining? Where do things stand?
So they're in real good shape to make the playoffs. There's 4 games left this season, 2 at home, 2 on the road. Their most recent game, they went on the road last Saturday to Louisville City, who is the number 1 team in the league by a wide margin. And they were up 2-0 after 15 minutes of that game, and just made one mistake too many, and they ended up losing 4-2, which was kind of a bummer. But they're 5th in the Western Conference, and the playoff race in the Western Conference is incredibly tight. They are, the top 4 teams in the conference get a home playoff game. Memphis 901 FC has had home playoff games each of the last 2 years. So you would really hope that they get another home playoff game. They're 3 points behind the Las Vegas Lights, who are currently in 4th place. And their last 4 games are all against teams currently above the playoff line. They get the Oakland Roots at home tomorrow night. They get Sacramento Republic at home next Saturday night. That is the team currently in 2nd place in the Western Conference. And then they go on the road to New Mexico and I think maybe Phoenix Rising. And Phoenix Rising is the reigning champs, but they're kind of in free fall mode right now. Oakland, for example, they've lost 4 straight. I don't think they've scored a goal since August. So I don't want to. We talked about the University of Memphis women's team being very good at home. Memphis 901C is unbeaten in 11 straight home games. I don't think they've lost a home game since April. So they defend home field very well, and despite the fact that you have your last 4 games all against high quality playoff caliber teams, there's no reason that this team can't get the job done. They've been very stable, very consistent. They had a rough start to the season where they lost, I think, 5 of the first 6 games, and they bounced back very nicely. And, there's the old saying, you never get too high after a win, you never get too low after a loss, and I think that perfectly encapsulates this 901SC team and what Stephen Glass and Caleb Patterson-Sewell are building over there.
How do you compare this team to the last few postseason teams that they've produced?
This, they may, it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison because they're in the Western Conference now, whereas the last 2 years they were in the Eastern Conference. Well, the last 5 years they were in the Eastern Conference. But the 2022 team was much like this team was a small roster that had a bunch of really good players, and that they were all bought in and they were all willing to go to war for each other. And last year was kind of like an in-between year. You had you kept some of the players that were, maybe still loyal to Ben Pierman, and then you brought in Stephen Glass, and it was a little bit tougher of a situation than a lot of people, I think, expected, myself included. So I would liken this team a little bit more to the 2022 team rather than the 2023 team because, it's a talented roster, but it's a small roster. But these are guys that are all willing to go to war for each other, and I think that bodes well heading into a stretch of games, like I said, where you're playing against teams that are all in an almost identical situation to you, where everybody wants to make the playoffs and everybody wants that home playoff game.
Lawrence Dockery, by the way, joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines. You can follow him on Twitter at LDoc93. Anything new on the whole stadium front? We know they got one more season that they could play at AutoZone Park before they have to have their own facility. Anything new on that?
I have not heard anything. That is, I don't know what's going on there. That's your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, fair enough. I know that you are a happy camper, and you express that pretty much on social media, that the United States men's soccer team has a new coach, and he's going to be coaching his first match next Saturday, I believe.
Yes, that's correct. That's the United States finally got their act together. U.S. Soccer decided they needed to start hiring real coaches, both on the women's side, and that immediately paid dividends with a gold medal. And then on the men's side, they fired Greg Berhalter. Thank the Lord for that. And they hired a guy named Mauricio Pochettino, who is from Argentina and who's managed at some of the biggest clubs in the world. He managed at Barcelona's other team, Espanyol. He managed Southampton in the Premier League, where he overlapped with current U.S. Soccer sporting director Matt Crocker, which is really how that hire got made. Then he managed Tottenham Hotspur and got them to a Champions League final. He's managed at PSG in Paris, where he managed Messi and Neymar on the same team.
Wow.
And I believe Mbappe as well. And then he took over at Chelsea, and they're a disaster, so he wasn't particularly good there. They had a real rough start, and he steadied the shit, but they're a clown car inside of a dumpster fire. Chelsea is. So I would liken this to, I had a college football person ask me, who doesn't pay a lot of attention to soccer, ask me, what's the college football version of this hire? And I said, this would be like if Houston hired Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly doesn't have a lot of hardware, but he wins a lot of football games. Mm-hmm. And Houston's kind of a program that thinks probably much more highly of themselves than anybody else does. And that's U.S. Soccer. So this is a really good hire. It's a really important hire. It's you needed something to get, because this fan base was maybe not quite at an all-time low, but very close to an all-time low of U.S. fan morale and interest and care. And this has been a shot in the arm. This is sex appeal, adrenaline, whatever you want to call it. It was desperately needed. And one of the interesting aspects of it is that for the longest time, it wasn't, they didn't publicize this, but you could read between the lines, and speaking Spanish at U.S. Soccer was almost strictly forbidden. Mm-hmm. A lot of youth coaches that spoke Spanish and recruited dual nationals were let go. The Spanish language channels on U.S. Soccer's social media were no longer active. And Mauricio Pochettino's from Argentina, and he speaks Spanish, and that is something that I think is very important, both in dealing with the media and a very large Hispanic population in the United States, plus recruiting a lot of dual nationals that Mexico is also going after. So I think that's very important.
And let me caution the new coach, don't get on the bad side of Lawrence Dockery. Lawrence, it is always a pleasure, my friend. We will talk soon, I'm sure, for the postseason with Memphis 901 FC. Again, they got a match on Saturday. Yep.
So Mauricio Pochettino's first game for the U.S. is next Saturday, October 12th, against Panama. Mm-hmm. One of the goalkeepers called up by the Panama national team is former Memphis Tiger J.D. Gunn, who was on the last two tournament teams for the Memphis Tigers men's side. I think that speaks to the program that Coach Mulrooney is building over there. And they had a rough start, and they've got their season turned around. So, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, turned the season around, and now they're putting guys into the international ballot.
That is fantastic. That is something to keep an eye on. He is Lawrence Dockery. He covers soccer, all types of soccer, writes for World Soccer Talk, and hosts the 901 Soccer podcast on Bluff City Media. You can follow him on Twitter at LDoc93. We'll talk soon. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care. Good stuff. Pinnacle Roofing and Restoration, good stuff there as well. For all your roofing and home repair needs, call Brandon McCullough at 901-438-5084 or go online to newroofmemphis.com. They offer financing with different plans and options to choose from, including a 6, 12, or 18-month same-as-cash option. They'll work with your insurance company or out of pocket, whatever it takes to get that new roof or that roof repaired. They are part of the Roofs for Troops program. Any veteran, active or retired, get a $250 rebate on the purchase of a new roof. Pinnacle does both residential and commercial roofing. So business owners, property managers, if you have a leak or any other roofing problem, call Brandon today. They'll come out and do a free roof inspection. They're licensed, bonded, and insured, and a member of the Better Business Bureau. You get a 5-year labor warranty on the purchase of a new roof, and all their work is satisfaction guaranteed, including work around the home, like carpentry work, exterior painting. They can replace gutters, put up fencing, put up siding, install shingles, rotten wood repair. If you can't do it yourself, call the experts at Pinnacle Roofing and Restoration. Again, 901-438-5084. Call Brandon. Tell me you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. This is a locally owned and operated company. Or go online to newroofmemphis.com. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Finley Lavin, defender for University of Memphis Women's Soccer. Southern Security has the perfect low-interest rewards credit card. Variable annual percentage rates ranging from 15 to 18% and may increase at any time. Transfer your high-interest credit card balances to a Southern Security Rewards Visa today. Don't miss out on low rates and no transfer fees until December 31st, 2024. Apply today at southernsecurity.org or call our member service team 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of the University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by NCUA.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Then enjoy Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and 5 regular wings for
back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:50 the time. Coming up at about 9:05 when we return after the top of the hour break, we'll have 10 in a row. The game show that has swept the nation. Always have a great prize package for you. And then at about 9:25, Brandon Lang will join us to handicap some of the big college football and NFL games this week. And again, if you missed any of last night's action, a great Thursday night NFL game won by the Falcons in overtime over the Buccaneers, 36-30. Kirk Cousins to Kadarius Hodge for the game-winning touchdown, 45-yarder. The Tampa Bay defense just went kaput on that play. And Hodge, who came into the game after an injury to Drake London, gets the game winner. Cousins went 42 of 58 for 509 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. College football last night, Texas State over Troy, 38-17. Sam Houston beat UTEP 41-21. 3 games tonight on the docket in FBS football. You're talking Jacksonville State. Kennesaw State. Jacksonville State versus Kennesaw State. That's at Kennesaw State. Houston at Texas Christian. And Michigan State at Oregon in the Big Ten. And in Major League Baseball, the final wild card playoff series was wrapped up yesterday in dramatic style. Milwaukee at home had taken a 2-0 lead in the 7th on back-to-back home runs. But in the top of the 9th inning, in Milwaukee, the Mets scored 4, the big blow, Pete Alonso's 3-run home run, and the Mets move on to the divisional series round of the playoffs as they beat Milwaukee 4-2 and won the series 2-1. So you have, starting tomorrow, in a best 3 of 5, the Tigers and the Guardians at 12:08, the Mets and the Phillies at 3:08, the Royals and the Yankees at 5:38, and the Padres and the Dodgers at 7:38. And a correction, Elijah, because earlier, and I don't know if you picked this up, and I just realized because I knew it didn't sound right, I kept saying City Park. It's City Field, of course. I should know that, where the Mets play. The series will begin in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park, but I kept saying City Park for whatever reason. It is, of course, City Field, where the New York Mets play their games. So that's what happened last night in the world of sports, at least some of the action. Also yesterday, Caitlin Clark was named the WNBA Rookie of the Year. She got all the first-place votes except one.
Yeah.
Do you know who did they actually release that? Like who gave Angel Reese the vote?
I haven't seen the ballot. I haven't seen the balloting, but crazy that only one person didn't.
I'm telling you, if Angel Reese had not gotten hurt and she played throughout the rest of the season, I don't care. I don't think she would have won, but she would have gotten a lot more support. It's almost like they didn't want Caitlin Clark to win. But, yeah, it should have been unanimous, but it doesn't matter. I mean, she wins the award. She averaged 19.2 points per game, 8.4 assists, which led the league, 5.7 rebounds, 1.3 steals. The Fever improved to a playoff team at 20-20. They're going to get better because she's going to get better. Players around her is going to get better. Look, she's not the best player in the WNBA, but she's a hell of a player. And, I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but the WNBA playoffs are still going on, despite the Indiana Fever being knocked out, and the ratings are down.
Go figure.
I mean, again, it's not that hard to admit if you have been one of the people that have been saying or trying to sell yourself on the notion that all of a sudden, after the WNBA started in the late 90s, right?
I believe so, yes.
See if you can find that year, like 97, 98. Again, this is off the top of my head. So all of a sudden, after 25-plus years, everybody now digs the WNBA. All of a sudden now, the ratings go up. People go to the games. Oh, yeah, it's all, after 25 years, it just clicked in. Now people want to go and watch women's basketball at the professional level. No. it was because of one person. Now, granted, when you watch because of this one person, maybe you start to like the product because there are a lot of likable women that play and teams, and there is some excitement, and the game has improved. But don't tell me that after 25 years of nobody watching, again, basically staying afloat because of the NBA, and now salaries are going up and they're getting chartered flights. All this is because of one woman. Tiger Woods changed everything in golf. Changed everything. The money, the astronomical amount of money that Scottie Scheffler won this year. Yes, he did it. He went out there and won. But the purses and the money is thanks to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods changed everything in the game of golf. To a lesser degree, but still a degree, Caitlin Clark has changed everything for all those players in the WNBA. She's not the best. She's very, very good. She's not Asia Wilson. But if it was not for Caitlin Clark and the whole deal and a little bit of Angel Reese and that whole Iowa LSU thing, people would not jump aboard the way they have. I don't know why this woman was able to do that people have fell in love with her and the game. But for whatever the reason is, those players that currently play should be counting their blessings. They should genuflect in front of a poster of Caitlin Clark at their homes. And they don't get it. Not some of them get it, but most of them don't get it. They really believe, like all of a sudden people now have fallen in love with that game.
It's going to be so interesting this year to see the women's college basketball numbers because of all of the players in that last class who left. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they were the draw. You still have Paige Beckers, who's still there. She's a draw, but it is going to be very interesting to see because you expect there to be a decline, but how big of a decline is it going to be?
Well, some of the coaches are draws themselves. Dawn Staley is a draw. When South Carolina's playing, people want to watch Dawn Staley's team. Tennessee's always been a draw. Connecticut's always been a draw with Gina Auriemma. And Kim Mulkey and LSU has always been a draw. But you're right. You're losing personalities like Angel Reese and certainly Caitlin Clark. But for whatever the reason is, I don't get it. I mean, I don't know what people will say 100 years from now in the history of sports, and they're looking back at this thing called the WNBA and how it changed and why it changed. I don't know why people have she's got a nice personality, but I mean, she doesn't knock your socks off. Again, I don't mean this to sound sexist, but it's not like she's, a model playing basketball at that level and people and just the guys are just falling. They're just dying to watch her because she's just a really good basketball player. For whatever the reason is, people have taken notice and they love it, and it has benefited all the women. I like the women's game. I call games for the University of Memphis. I love Coach Simmons and the way her teams play. Is it always great basketball across the college landscape? No, not always. But the WNBA is the best of the best players. It was a sport that, frankly, nobody cared about. The women cared about it, certainly. But nobody watched. And the ratings sucked. And now the ratings are good. But the ratings have dropped since Indiana got knocked out of the postseason. That is not a coincidence. And again, people that don't, they refuse to give her credit. I don't get it. I just don't understand. Okay, and one other thing. Antonio Pierce, the coach of the Raiders, not that this matters now, he gets a show cause penalty from the NCAA, 8 years, show cause. So if he wanted to coach again in college, you know what that means. He can't for 8 years. Would have to sit out if he came back early for over, whatever the case is. He's not going anywhere. I mean, he's going to coach in the NFL, even if it doesn't work out with the Raiders. Who knows if we'll get another opportunity. I think he knows his football. I think he's a pretty good coach. But he goes to Arizona State with Herm Edwards, and he is found to have been guilty of impermissible recruiting contact with not one or two players, with 35 prospects, a lot of it during the COVID year, and actually COVID years. He used this is according to the findings, he used his power to position to pressure staff members into engaging in violations. And one of the other things that they said that he did and his staff did, reportedly, brought recruits' parents to some entertainment venues. Let's just say where women don't wear a lot of clothes. So very interesting. 8-year show cause. The guy's the coach of the Raiders. He's not being punished by the Raiders. It doesn't matter. Now he needs to win football games or he'll be punished by a firing, by a pink slip. But very interesting as far as that is concerned. All right. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. Hour number 3. We will open with 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. If you'd like to participate, and I always say, don't delay. I know you don't know the question yet, but some people are quick to the trigger, and sometimes they win right off the bat. So if you want to participate, 360-8255. Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. We'll play 10 in a row, and then it will be Brandon Lang to kind of close up shop for us for the week. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't do another Halloween spot for Central Barbecue.
But it's October. Doing a Halloween spot for Central Barbecue is a tradition.
But it doesn't make it a good thing.
Nothing else happens in October.
Baseball?
Not if you're a Cardinals fan. What else you got?
National Candy Corn Day.
No Central Barbecue connection.
Fair point. How about Make a Difference Day?
That's to encourage people to do something constructive for the world.
And going to Central Barbecue isn't?
I'm telling you, it's got to be Halloween.
There's no other choice, I guess.
Hey, Zeke.
Yeah?
This year, give the kiddies ribs on Halloween. They love that.
Seriously, next year, something new.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Traffic's on the increase even more now, coming down I-40 in certain sections here westbound, especially on 40, anywhere between Germantown Parkway and Sycamore View Road. There's still some volume inbound on Sam Cooper. Traffic's still looking good right now from the south on 55 northbound from Hernando up through DeSoto County all the way up to South Haven. Hey, if you'd like to help out the hurricane victims and you don't know how you can help, well, just donate to the American Red Cross. Their website, it's redcross.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6. Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:04 the time. Final hour for us today here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, our producer Elijah Seegers. Eli off today. He returns to the program on Monday. It's already up to 68. It'll get up to 89. So rapidly moving up the thermometer is the temperature. And again, we're going to be in the 90s, it looks like, for Saturday. But then Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, probably right around 90. But then it dips down into the 70s for early next week. A lot of sunshine in the forecast. Tonight, by the way, clear skies with an overnight low of 65 degrees. Coming up in just a few moments, we'll play 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. Hour 3 of the program is brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock, Arkansas. They specialize in flooring and carpeting. Family-owned, operated, local business. If it's variety you're looking for, they have it. SPC and WPC vinyls, these are top of the line, scratch-resistant, waterproof. They have ceramic and porcelain tiles, all types, all different variety. Hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, plantation shutters and blinds as well. They sell at wholesale. Skip the middleman, save you lots of money in the process. Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins started this business about 8 years ago in their garage in Cleveland, Mississippi. And because of their quality of work, their attention to detail, their pricing, they have earned their reputation of being one of the top flooring companies in the area. This is for both residential and commercial. So homeowners, contractors, do yourself a favor, see what Jenkins Floors and More has to offer. They will install and do so with an unheard of 2-week turnaround. Financing is available at Jenkins Floors and More. They're open Monday through Saturday. You can call them at 662-469-9350 or just stop by. Let them come out to give you a free estimate, show you different samples of what it will look like, and then you go with them, the 2-week turnaround. Military, first responders, 10% off, and Sports 56 listeners ask about your family discount. Great family, great service, just really good company. Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. Visit them today or give them a shout. Time now for 10 in a row.
Not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 in a row.
It's the game show that has swept the nation. It is 10 in a row. If you'd like to participate, hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Elijah, what are the folks playing for today?
Today's lucky winner of 10 in a row will be receiving a $25 gift card to Sunrise Breakfast alongside another $25 gift card to East Coast Wings and 2 Malco movie passes.
I was just at Sunrise the other day. Absolutely out of this world. East Coast Wings, you know how good they are, and a couple of movie passes. So 360-8255. Don't delay. We don't have a lot of time here, folks. I'm going to move on once this question is asked. If we don't get the callers in, so be ready. Be quick on the trigger. NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. I'm not going to surprise you with guys that are retired or try to trick you. These are all players that are currently active in the NFL. If they are in the top 10 in touchdowns, it's a yes. If not, it's a no. And you may know one just from watching last night's game between Atlanta and Tampa because he hit a milestone. So, again, these are NFL players, current NFL players, that are top 10, the active leaders in touchdowns. 360-8255, 360-8255. All right, let's get going. Let's start with Dan. Dan, how are you?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going well, thank you. Again, these are NFL. This is the NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. Cordero Patterson.
No.
Josh Allen.
No.
Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Aaron Jones.
Yes.
360-8255 is the number. We go to Matt. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
All right, again, NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. Alvin Kamara.
Yes.
James Conner.
No.
Amari Cooper.
No.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes.
Keenan Allen.
Yes.
360-8255. Andre is next. Dre, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. Cordero Patterson.
No.
Josh Allen.
No.
Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Aaron Jones.
No.
Joe Mixon.
No.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
Tyler Lockett.
No.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
Kareem Hunt.
No.
Adam Thielen.
No.
Well done. Well done, Andre. You're a winner, my friend. I'm going to put you on
Good,
hold,
good.
and Elijah's going to get your information. Andre is a winner of 10 in a row for this week. So that'll do it. No second chance opportunity. I'll go back to the list we did not complete, and that is list 2. And these NFL top 10 active leaders in touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, yes. James Conner, no. Amari Cooper, no. Ezekiel Elliott, yes. Keenan Allen, no. That was a tough one. Tyreek Hill, think about it, folks. Tyreek Hill is a yes. Devontae Adams, who wants to be traded. What do you think? He's a yes. Mike Evans, you should know, got his 100th touchdown, actually his 99th and 100th last night. So Mike Evans is an easy yes. Derrick Henry, I think you all know that's a yes. Lamar Jackson, that could have thrown a few people off. Lamar Jackson is not in the top 10. He's closing in, but he is not in the top 10, so that might have fooled a few people. There you go. That's 10 in a row. By the way, 10 in a row is brought to you by one of the great restaurants here in Memphis, and that's Napa Cafe, and it's in East Memphis. And they have this wine cellar area where you can eat at and kind of be away from everything. It is really cool. It's been a while. I mean, it's been a while since I've been to Napa, but it is absolutely terrific. It's been a while since I've actually been to Napa, California as well. But Napa Cafe, a lot closer to home here in Memphis. Terrific for dinner. Just a great place to bring your loved one, bring your family. Again, check them out. Napa Cafe, sponsor of 10 in a row. How would you have done, my friend?
Not very well, if I do say so myself. That was tough.
It was tough. But, again, that's a list that you can look up. I try to make them a little bit tougher sometimes. And I'm not saying that was easy, especially those who didn't look it up. I mean, that was tough for those who didn't look it up. But then if you look it up, I'm not saying our winner Andre did, but there are some that you can just look up. And then others I try not to make them too easy where you can look them up. But that's it. We've had fun. I've come up with lists. I would love to know, it's impossible, but how many lists I have put together for 10 in a row, because we have done it for years and years and years. Giving away great prizes thanks to our sponsors that provide the prizes for our great listeners. I can't even imagine how many lists I've put together. By the way, we have still not gotten to the bottom of the milk bone, dog bone thing, the mystery. Now, people are starting to come into the building. You and I are the only ones in the building early. Now people are starting to come for the normal 9 to 5 day, and we need to find out. For those who don't know, I started the show talking about this mystery box of dog bones that brand new, not open, sitting in the studio. What does that mean?
Have you shaken the box?
No, because Varla said, I wonder if there's a bomb in there. I said, no, stop it. No, I did shake the box. It's absolutely full. It's dog bones. It's real. The question is this an omen? Is this an omen for teams that have the Bulldogs nickname, some kind of dog, right?
Hey, I'm a Mississippi State guy. Maybe this is an omen that our season is going to turn around. That's what I'm going to take it as.
Maybe. That's a good way of looking at things. Does State play this week?
They are fortunately off, so they can heal their wounds.
So Georgia plays. They play Auburn. That was one of our picks yesterday in our pick 6. And Auburn was a 24, I think they're a 24-point underdog. It's now 22. And I think I took the points in Auburn, but maybe that's a bad thing. That might be the omen. The Georgia covers 24. Any other? Fresno State, they playing? How many Bulldogs are there in FBS?
Well, maybe we could think past Bulldogs. We could think about Smokey on Rocky Top.
Might be stretching it a little bit, but yes, Tennessee. Tennessee will be on the road at Arkansas. Another game that was part of our Pick 6. Tennessee is now a 14-point favorite. I forget what we played it at, but Tennessee a 14-point favorite at Arkansas. I don't know. Let's see. Any more dog-related teams?
Maybe Gonzaga is going to win March Madness this year.
So put a futures bet in on Gonzaga, the Bulldogs. Of course, they were in the news recently with their move to the PAC, as they will join the PAC for basketball playing only, as far as that is concerned. That won't start until 2 years from now, so not this season, not next season, and then they will become a part of the PAC as opposed to the WCC. All right, Brandon Lang still to come. I do want to go over some of the odds for some of the college football games this week of importance, national relevance, or local significance. I already talked about the 3 games that are on tap for tonight. Michigan State, Oregon. Michigan State, you got to give Jonathan Smith some time to get that team to his liking before I think they can compete. I don't think it'll bode too well tonight. Michigan State is a 23.5-point dog at Oregon. Syracuse played tonight. Did I miss that game? Is there 4 games tonight? Yeah, I think there is 4 games tonight. I think Syracuse and UNLV, I missed that earlier. So UNLV is a 6.5-point favorite over Syracuse. Syracuse comes in at 3-1, UNLV at 4-0. Syracuse is not a powerhouse, but it is an ACC team, and that could really strengthen things for UNLV in their bid to be the Group of 5 representative. Of course, they're going to have to figure out a way to knock off Boise State and possibly knock them off twice. But Barry Odom's got that team playing well. Even with the change at quarterback, they didn't miss a beat. So that'll be tonight against Syracuse. Mentioned Oregon, Michigan State, TCU, Houston, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State. Now, on tap for tomorrow, UCLA at Penn State. Long trip from L.A. to Happy Valley. Penn State's a 4-touchdown favorite. Deshaun Foster, first-year head coach for UCLA, taking his lumps. Penn State should win that one. I don't know about 28, but there's a good chance they cover. Missouri was one of the games we picked yesterday. They're at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 2.5-point favorite. SMU at Louisville. Louisville at 3-1 after losing at Notre Dame. They're a 6.5-point favorite over a good SMU team, former American Conference team that's moved into the ACC for the first time. Other games of note, Pitt's undefeated. They'll play in Chapel Hill. North Carolina's 3-2. They gave up the 70 to James Madison. They gave up the lead and blew the game to Duke 21-20. I got to think that, and Mac Brown after the loss to Fresno said, hey, you want me to step down? I'll step down. He said, no, Mac. Nobody's going to fire Mac during the season. But I think there will be a mutual understanding at the end of the year that Mac will retire. It's going to be that, mutually decided, or he'll just announce that he'll retire. There's not going to be a announcement of some sort of firing. It's not going to happen. He deserves better, but it's done. I mean, North Carolina, if they lose that one tonight, 3-3. Pitt trying to stay unbeaten, as I said. Navy trying to stay unbeaten. They play at Air Force. So started the Commanders-in-Chief trophy. It's not decided by this one game, but Navy can get a leg up. Navy still has to play Notre Dame non-conference. Again, this doesn't have an effect on the American Conference. But if Navy were to, let's say, win the conference and be the American representative, a win over Air Force is a necessity, I would think, to be that Group of 5 representative to have a chance. The Notre Dame loss, it doesn't end things, but it would all depend on what everybody else is doing. But Air Force, they know what Navy does for the most part. The Navy triple option this year is a variation that includes some parts of what Air Force does. So that should be real fun, even though Air Force has struggled at 1-3. I would think that Navy, a 9.5-point favorite, would win on the road. I don't know about a cover of that much. Army at Tulsa. Army, same boat. 4-0. Running a triple option at Tulsa. And I think they should win going away. Tulane at UAB, trying to follow up their win over South Florida. They're 3-2. UAB is 1-3. Tulane is a 17-point dog. Ohio State at 4-0 plays Iowa 3-1. Ohio State at 18.5-point favorite at home. Mentioned Georgia, 22-point favorite over Auburn. South Carolina and Ole Miss. Ole Miss an 8.5-point favorite on the road, trying to bounce back from their loss to Kentucky. And just a couple of others, East Carolina, Charlotte, and the American. East Carolina on the road, an 8-point favorite. Rutgers at Nebraska. Rutgers 4-0, Nebraska 4-1. Sneaky good game on paper. Nebraska is a 6.5-point favorite. Bama is a 22.5-point favorite at Vanderbilt. And then Clemson and Florida State. Boy, has the mighty fallen in Florida State. Clemson, though, has recovered since the loss to Georgia. They're 3-1 at Florida State, 1-4. Mike Norvell's team in jeopardy of falling to 1-5. We will take a timeout. When we come back on the other side, Brandon Lang joins us. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamonds so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds and luxury premium Rolexes and Poplar and Morgan's Extended.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So, I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote 1-800-670-5151. That's 1-800-670-5151. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-670-5151. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:23 the time. Big football weekend for us here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM. Saturday, we got the Ole Miss and South Carolina game starting at 12:30. Sunday, an NFL triple header. Dolphins at the Patriots at noon. Cardinals at the 49ers at 3. And then the Sunday night game, the Cowboys at the Steelers at 7. And then Monday night, Saints at the Chiefs, 7 o'clock. You can hear all the action right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM. In just a moment, you can hear the great Brandon Lang.
It's time to handicap this week's action. Joining Greg and Eli is sports handicapper Brandon Lang, subject of the movie Two for the Money.
I mean, I was absolutely nauseous and ready to literally crawl to the TV, track him down with a yellow wiffle ball bat, and just putting the beating on him.
Get Brandon's plays at BrandonLang.com.
Jack Nicholson, up super kid.
Offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Also listen to Brandon's betting analysis on the Believe Podcast Network.
He's not going to last very long in the NFL. I don't care what people say. He will be out of the league within 3 years. I guarantee it. You heard it here first. He will be gone. I don't know what his dad does for a living, but whatever his dad does, he will go in the family business.
Now, here's Brandon with Greg and Eli.
He is Brandon Lang. He joins us every Friday to talk NFL, to talk college football, and other things as well. What is all that crackling, Brandon? What are you, making some food?
I don't know. I'm sitting in my fiance's office, so I don't know what the cackling could be.
That's when you had just some crackling going on, but not when you speak. It was when you were waiting to come on. Hey, how are you? And once again, Savoy ditches you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you pulling out the invite from or pulling away the invite?
No, he doesn't get to go now. He's done. You can only fit 30 in the Elvis Chapel. We're going to fit more than that. Yeah, Elvis might not like it, but we're gonna jam pack a few more than that. But sorry, Elvis, you just have to deal with it. The Lang wedding bring a little heat. So, but yeah, he's done. Hope he didn't make plane reservations. I'm asking him. He can't take Thursday off. Take Friday off, take Thursday off, take Monday off. For the love of God.
He's celebrating, well, he's not really doing that right now. He's playing golf, but he's going to celebrate his 50th birthday on Sunday. So it is the Savoy weekend. I don't know if that matters to you.
He probably can't play dead in a Western when it comes to golf. So, what are you going to do there?
By the way, no, he's a really good golfer. By the way, do you get to pick which Elvis? Do you get like the fat Elvis, the young Elvis? Like, do you get to pick which Elvis it is?
Well, this is the Graceland Chapel, so they have their Elvis. It's the most popular chapel in town, so everybody goes there. My partner Steve Budin in the website actually got married there. I want to say 4 or 5 months ago. He said it was great, and I have a video of it. And it's like my gal said, it's kind of cheesy, but that's kind of our style. She's been walked down the aisle with the big expensive wedding, and me too. And it's like, why? Let's just go do it. Invite some friends to Vegas, hang out for 3 days, and get the hell out of Dodge.
Sounds fun. Sounds like the right thing to do. Hey, how did Eli keeps the stats on your picks? How did the paddle game do?
Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, wow.
Baltimore Ravens. So I'm good. I'm back. Took me about 4 days to recover. The new paddle she got was pretty wicked. She didn't mess around. She said, I'm stepping up my game. And she literally said, she stepped up her game. This thing's huge, by the way. It's like maybe Alonzo used to hit that bomb yesterday for the Mets. I mean, listen, I came into last night. I did your show last Friday. Had Rutgers on the website. Saturday, Alabama. Sunday, Ravens. Monday, Lions. Tuesday, Padres run line. Wednesday, Mets, Brewers over. So we're going for 7 in a row. And Tampa Bay, I go to bed up 7 at the half, and I wake up, and I just look at the play-by-play as I'm scrolling down, and I see fumble. And I go, oh, God, no. So I go in and look at it, 2:55 to go, fumble at the Atlanta 25-yard line, up 30-27. You get a field goal there, give Atlanta the ball back. It's a 34-33 final. You can't lose the game. Then they get the interception, and they have the ball at the Atlanta 35. You can run 3 quarterback sneaks and pick up 4 yards and kick the field goal, and the final's still going to be 34-33. No, let's run 3 plays, lose 18 yards, punt, and then the rest is, tie game, overtime, lose by 6. It's like, oh, my God. That first new piece to the opening of sitting there and just being violent, your morning starts off like that. You're like, if that's what it takes for me not to get a 7th straight winning day, I'll take 6-1 runs like that all day, every day for the rest of my life. But God, what a brutal beat Seriously.
Well, you've seen a few, and you've unfortunately suffered a few in your lifetime. But 6-1 over the last 7, that's pretty strong. Let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it going.
The feeling I had was the feeling of that paddle. So we're past that. We had Raven. She's got a really good one this week, and she says, She says, I can't lose. If I win, she says, I'm a legend. If I lose, she's like, you get beat. She's like, how's that not a win-win?
That is definitely a win-win for her. All right, we'll get to the paddle game here in a second, unless I accidentally blurted out not knowing.
You're gonna hit it. I already know, but that's fine.
I wanna start, since you were big on the Ravens over Buffalo. They got to turn around now and go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's better than that 1-3 record would indicate. They're a 2.5-point road favorite at Cincinnati. I know you like the home dogs. Do you like Cincinnati?
I'm just going to tell you that there is a number involved in this game. I'm not touching this game. I made a ton of money with Baltimore last week, and this is a tough spot for them. But get this. The Cincinnati Bengals are 11-0, straight up and against the spread, in games when both teams are coming off a straight up and against the spread win.
Wow.
Bengals, straight up and against the spread at Carolina. Ravens, straight up and against the spread against Buffalo. 11-0, straight up and against the spread. I don't know how you go against that. I don't know how Cincinnati covers this game. I'm staying away from it. I'm going to watch it and enjoy it and see if Lamar's Lamar and Henry's Henry and whatever, but I'm just going to stay away.
We get to start out early in the morning with football on Sunday because the Jets and Vikings are over in London. Minnesota, one of 2 undefeated teams remaining. They're a 2.5-point favorite over the Jets, who just couldn't do anything in the rain and against that Denver defense last week.
Sitting in my office last Sunday morning. My girl's making me biscuits and gravy. I go, I'm going to put a little $800. I'm going to put a little $300 8-teamer in for you and your maid of honor. You know, FanDuel, here you go, and just have fun with it. Okay? Ready? Mm-hmm. Indianapolis Colts winner. Minnesota Vikings winner. Bears money line winner. 4th game we're going to leave out for now. Afternoon slate. Niners money line. Chargers +8 winner. Ravens money line Sunday night. Lions money line Monday night. That 8-teamer paid 16,000 coins.
Okay.
Guess what the loser was? It was a missed field goal with 5 seconds to go. Jets money line over Denver. The Zerline can't make the 50-yarder.
Are you?
And we're sitting there, and she came. Yeah, and she came and watched the end of it at Buffalo Wild Wings with me, and it's on the TV right in front of us. And she's holding my hand. I look right at her, and I go, I just want you to know this. If he misses this field goal, the next 4 games will not lose. Of course, he pushes it right. And like I said, Chargers, Niners, Ravens, Lions, 16 dimes because the Jets and Robert Saleh are just so effing clueless. With that being said, I'm going against them the rest of the year just based out of hate. But the real story is I've just been on Minnesota the last 4 weeks. I just have. And if you struggled at home against that Denver defense, this Minnesota defense is better. And I just don't see the problems that the Jets have being fixed in 1 week traveling over to London. I think there's a disconnect with Robert Saleh. I think he's a terrible, terrible, terrible football coach. I think people should call 911 and send the police to New York, both New York complexes, because Brian Dable and Saleh are stealing money. They're that bad, these two. And how they have jobs still, I don't know. I said this before. NFL coaches that get on that wheel and getting coaches circle, it's just recycling the same old trash. They just resurface and get jobs again. You got a lot of bad coaches in the NFL right now, and Robert Saleh is one of them, so give me Minnesota.
I'm going to guess the paddle game. I don't know. It may not be this, but are the Commanders really, really good now? They're 3-1. Browns are 1-3. Is that the paddle game?
No, but I'm gonna ride them. I'm gonna keep going against Deshaun Watson. I just am. I just think, like I said in the Charlie Brown comic with Pigpen and the dirt cloud behind him, I just think there's something hovering over this football team. Call it bad karma, call it whatever you want, but they just have not been able to turn the corner with this guy and the money they paid him. And I'm a believer in Washington, and I'm going to ride him. I'm going to continue to ride him.
Yeah, Washington -3. This one I know is not the paddle game because this is a tough game, but I'm going to ask you anyway about this game. Bills-Texans in Houston. Bills trying to bounce back after the loss to the Ravens. They're a 1-point favorite on the road at Houston.
Did you see that game last night and the amount of points they scored?
Yes.
It was just up and down the field. In my opinion, this is going to be the highest scoring game on the Sunday card. Post total's 47. It can't stay under. It just can't. It just can't. Buffalo Bills defense is just beat up. Houston's offense at home against that defense. Josh Allen and the way they performed offensively last week against the Ravens. Houston's defense has been less than anything. Buffalo, Houston over 47.5. That would have been the paddle game, but I can't do it. I told her I can't do a total. She says, come on, it's going to be high scoring. I said, no, we can't do it. Put the paddle away. So, I'm not getting it.
All right, so what's the paddle game?
Pittsburgh, Dallas.
Gosh, I'm staring right at it going, I wonder, there's no way he's doing that one for the paddle. It's the paddle.
Think about this. Think about this. Dallas this year put up 248 yards total offense against Cleveland, won. Came home, got blown out by the Saints. Went on the road against the Giants and were just god-awful. Just god-awful. Awful. Just god-awful. And so you're looking at this Dallas team, and you're saying to yourself, they can't stop the run. What's the number one strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Running the football. So now you're going into a place where you can't win if you can't stop the run without your two best defensive players, Parsons and Lawrence, both out. You're not signing any new players that are going to step in. Pittsburgh runs the football, has a better defense. I'm sorry. I am not a believer in Dallas. I just am not. I will take Pittsburgh minus the 2.5 as the paddle game.
Man. Dallas and the problems. Jerry Jones, I'm sorry. He's going to be dead soon. I mean, he's not getting to a Super Bowl. It's just amazing with that team that they can't figure it out. All right. Let's move on to the college ranks. Let me start with this. This is an interesting game. Again, you've done really, really well in college. These are tough games. Missouri 4-0. Texas A&M improved. They're 4-1. It's in College Station. Texas A&M is a slight favorite over the 9th-ranked team in the nation. 2.5-point favorite, A&M.
I'm on Missouri.
Me too.
I'm on Missouri. I just think they're the better team. I watched last week, and I watched Arkansas should have beat A&M, let them off the hook. And I watched the whole game. And I'm like, you know what? I like Missouri. And I said to myself before the lines came out Saturday night, I said, I hope Missouri's getting points. I said, Missouri's getting any points whatsoever. They're the right side of the game. And they did. They're getting 1.5, 2, 2.5 based on where you look. So, yeah, I'm on Missouri plus the points.
By the way, you're really, really, if I haven't told you this, and I know I have, you're really good at what you do. Last week you walked me off of that Kansas State balcony and said, what are you doing, and threw those stats at me. And obviously Iowa State beat up, Oklahoma State, got beat up by Kansas State. That's what it was. You walked me off the balcony. I stayed away from that one. You saved me some money. All right, Iowa, Ohio State. Ohio State, 18.5-point favorite. Iowa, a little bit more offense this year. Of course, anything's more than what they did last year. But I don't see this one even being close. I think Ohio State rolls. What do you think?
Not a game that I would play, but I've learned with Ohio State that, and you've heard me say this before, sometimes you win with Team A, but you lose with Team A before you try to win with Team B. And Ohio State's kind of that team. You just, either you take them or you stay away, because if they get it going, they cover. They should never have covered against Michigan State, but they did. And you're sitting there going, God, I mean, the game's close in the third quarter. They score 3 times, the fourth they cover. And you're sitting there going, God, you just can't go against them. And I know some good numbers of Iowa 4-1 against the spread as a dog of more than 14 points when they have a winning record. I get that. But I've learned you take Ryan Day or you stay away.
Yeah. I got 2 more for you, but we did get a texter. I wanted to see you if you could break down Navy Air Force for him. Navy is, I believe, a 9.5-point favorite in Colorado. Where do they play? Colorado Springs, or I don't even know where they play. But anyway, at Air Force, Navy at Air Force.
Well, Army and Navy have both covered every single game this year, period. And last week, Navy 41-18 over UAB. Army blew out somebody on Thursday night off the top of my head because I was watching it. I'm telling you, Air Force has got problems. They got serious problems. And I know history tells you to take Air Force. I know history tells you in a rivalry game to take Air Force. But I think Calhoun has lost everything there. And the right side of the game is Navy. I mean, until Navy shows you they're not going to cover a number, don't go against the fact that they've covered every game. And they've covered every game by more than 7 points above the number, which tells you Vegas does not have a feel for that team just yet. So I think the right side of the game is Navy.
Ole Miss trying to bounce back from that disappointing loss to Kentucky, go to South Carolina, who mauled Kentucky earlier in the season. Ole Miss is an 8.5-point road favorite.
Even better. Even better. Week off. Week off for South Carolina. Sitting there just chilling. They're one loss this year. At home, LSU had them, outplayed them, let them off the hook. And so now here's a Ole Miss team 1-6 against the spread in their first back-to-back road games. 1-3 before LSU, who's on deck for them. This South Carolina team, 4-0 against the spread last 4 games in this series. 4-0 against the spread after scoring 40+. And when they're an SEC dog, 5-1 against the number. Gee. I'm telling you right now, give me South Carolina plus the points. I mean, I watched the Kentucky game. I'm so impressed with them. No one's talking about them. To put up 31 on that Kentucky defense that held Georgia to 13, think about that. That same Georgia team that scared the life out of me when I had Bama last week. I almost destroyed lives on a plane to Alabama. If they had lost, I'd be in jail right now. I'd be in jail. I'd plead temporary insanity. I'd get probably a year in a mental institution, and that's fine. I can handle a mental institution. I can. It's 3 hots a day. It's Xanax, Prozac. It's just strung out for a year, not having to stress these games. 28-0? Really? Really? You didn't think I was going to do damage had I lost that game? Someone was getting hurt, and I'm going to jail. And I'm in a mental institution. And listen, my girl would wait a year. She would. She'd be like, he just had a bad day. He really did. But we got the win anyway. And to know that South Carolina team put up 31 on Kentucky where Georgia couldn't, give me South Carolina plus the points.
One other from me, and then I'll ask you for your best play in college. Tennessee, Arkansas. Tennessee 14-point favorite on the road coming off the bye week.
Give me Arkansas. I'm a believer. I mean, I watched them against A&M. They went into Auburn 21-14. Defense played well. They're just not getting any respect here. I get it. I get Tennessee, and everybody sees Tennessee and touches Tennessee in that. But let me tell you something. They're 1-6 against the spread. Playing as a conference road favorite, 1-6 against the spread if they're undefeated. Hogs are 6-1 against the spread the last 7 matchups in this series, and as a conference home dog, getting less than 15, 8-2 against the spread. Sorry. Arkansas is going to give them all they can handle. Listen, Oklahoma did and self-destructed inside the 20-yard line 3 times. That game's a lot closer than that final will lead you to believe. So give me Arkansas plus the points over Tennessee.
All right, do you have a favorite play in college?
My favorite play in college, we already hit on it. It's South Carolina. +9.
Wow, that's your favorite one. He is Brandon Lang, the one and only. BrandonLang.com is the website. Of course, you can hear the podcast on the Believe Network, Believe Podcast Network. Hear him every Friday with us here on Sports 56 Mornings. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Brandon. Wow, so he is not endearing some of the local fans as he goes... Well, he is with Arkansas, but for the Tennessee fans, not so much. Not so much for the Ole Miss fans against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Interesting that I was on a radio show yesterday in South Carolina. My friend Jay Phillips has a show in Columbia, and we were talking about the matchup with Ole Miss. And Ole Miss, I was told that the coaches, nobody's on social media this week, that they are really understanding the gravity of the game, that they really can't afford to lose. And so they are about as focused as they could possibly be. But South Carolina's got to feel confident with what they were able to do to Kentucky, and what Kentucky did to Ole Miss. Doesn't always work that way. Means that you beat them because they beat you and all that stuff. What's it called? What is it? Transient property? Whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about?
Transitive property?
Transitive, is that what it is?
I think so.
You beat them, they beat you. That means you're going to beat them. Yeah. It doesn't always work out that way. Was Brandon coming back on? Oh, what's going on? What's going on, Brandon?
Okay, last week I forgot to give him a shout out. This week I got off the air and forgot to give him a shout out. I got to give Zach a shout out. He was fantastic to me. He'd send me files of the show when my girl couldn't listen, and it was always fun talking to him off air before I went on air. I called him my brother from another mother, and I just want to give Zach a big shout out. I'm going to miss him, and I'm glad he's going to teach kids and try to make a difference with this Generation X, because we're heading in a wrong direction with kids, and hopefully he can make a difference in some kids' lives. So, Zach, I'm going to miss you, buddy, and I just had to give our boy a shout out.
That is very nice of you, Brandon, and he deserves the accolades. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
Got it, buddy.
Yep, we're all going to miss Brandon. We're happy that we have Elijah here who's going to do a bang-up job, and certainly Zach's going to do a great job in his next endeavor. If you missed it, of course, Zach's been our longtime producer for the last 5 years and is moving on to become a teacher. So that's what Brandon was talking about. We're moving on to a final break. By the way, I had to look up Air Force. It's not Air Force, the city they're in, it says the United States Air Force Academy is a United States Service Academy in El Paso County, Colorado. And then it says Air Force, where is it here? It doesn't have a city. There's a Fort see, where's Colorado State? Is Colorado State in Fort Collins?
Yes, I believe so. I will say I have driven by the Air Force football stadium, and it is literally in the middle of nowhere, Colorado.
Is it really?
Yes.
So okay, University of Colorado is Boulder. Fort Collins is Colorado State. I had said Colorado Springs. What's in Colorado? Is there anything in Colorado Springs as far as school?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so I just made that up as far as Air Force is concerned. Maybe it's close to Colorado Springs, but I don't even see it associated with a city here. So maybe that makes a lot of sense for what you said out there in the middle of nowhere. All right, we'll take a final break. When we come back, our final segment before we call it a week and get ready for the weekend. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Winton Road.
Memphis, it's official. Crab King's Seafood is where it's at. For the most flavored seafood and the biggest plates, run to a Crab King's near you. Visit the Bartlett Cordova location at 7140 Stage Road. The price, the portions, the service is why Crab King's is number one. So don't be disappointed in seafood. Make the right choice the first time and every time. Make it Crab Kings. Crab Kings have only locally grown catfish. Come and devour tasty snow crabs, king crab, shrimp, salmon, catfish, calamari, and so much more. Enjoy Memphis's best tasting pasta with your choice of toppings. Visit the Bartlett Cordova location at 7140 Stage Road. Crab Kings is open Wednesday through Sunday. Enjoy 50% off lunch portions and dollar fountain drinks. The number one name in Cajun seafood is Crab King's Seafood, a Memphis favorite. Crab King, 7140 Stage Road. Kings with the Z.
Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks get always squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17.99. Weekdays mornings on Sports 56 and 95.5 This hour brought to you by Jennings Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:50 the time. Rare weekend for me, having no work, no games, no broadcasts. Going to spend some time with the wife, watch a lot of games on TV. Tigers, of course, with the bye this week, will be headed to Tampa on Thursday next week for the Friday game. As I mentioned earlier in the week, we didn't have Ryan Silverfield on this week because of the bye. He usually comes on Thursday, but because the game will be Friday next week, he'll be on with us on Wednesday at 8:05. We'll have the Tiger Football Report as the Tigers get set for South Florida. We'll have much more to talk about that particular matchup next week. A very important game for Memphis. I still have not found out why we have a box of Milk-Bone dog biscuits in our studio. I'm looking at them. They are the Milk-Bone Minis. The box has not been opened. Flavor snacks, so different flavors for the dogs out there. But it is sitting here in the studio, and I have no freaking idea why it is here. I do know this, though. It is caramel apple season at Dinstall's. They're there, and they are ready for your enjoyment. Tart Granny Smith apples dipped in fresh, chewy caramel. That's when you know it's fall and October is those caramel apples. At least it's always rings a bell with me. It's like, oh, it's caramel apple? Oh, yeah. It's got to be fall. It's got to be October. It's got to be Dinstall's. And you have all types of caramel apples. You can have just the plain caramel. You could have the caramel with pecans, the caramel with chocolate, or the ultimate turtle apple, which is the caramel, pecans, and chocolate all together. The caramel with chocolate and cashew crunch, which is very interesting. Of course, I've had the cashew crunch separately, but never as part of a caramel apple. It's the perfect taste of fall. Great for your tailgates this weekend. Starting tonight with high school football, head on over to Dinstall's. Pick yourself up some caramel apples or any of their fine delectables. They're great chocolates and candies. They've been making them for over 122 years. 5 locations: Collierville, Germantown, downtown Memphis, Pleasant View, where they make the candies, and in the Laurelwood Shopping Center, it's Dinstall's fine candies and chocolates. So the 4 divisional round playoff series are set. Major League Baseball starting tomorrow, best 3 of 5. It will be the Phillies and the Mets in Philadelphia. Zach Wheeler will go for the Phillies. The Mets have not announced their starting quarterback, their starting pitcher for game number 1, as they just dusted off Milwaukee last night, winning in Milwaukee in game number 3. The Tigers, same boat as the Mets. They have not decided who they will pitch in game 1 at Cleveland. It'll be Tanner Bybee for the Cleveland Guardians, as he will throw in the opener. The Royals will play at the Yankees on Saturday. Michael Wacha, there's a blast from the past, the former Cardinal. Michael Wacha, who also pitched sometime with the Redbirds, I believe. Michael Wacha will be the starter for the Royals. Garrett Cole, the ace of the Yankees, in game 1 in that series. And then the nightcap, the 4th of the 4 games on Saturday, Dylan Cease, who didn't pitch at all and was not needed in the Padres' 2-game sweep of the Braves. The right-hander goes in game 1 for the Padres, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto will go for the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been besieged with injuries with their pitching staff all year long. They've been able to overcome that with the bats that they have, and they're still not completely healthy. So it'll be very interesting because the Padres, in my opinion, have a deeper staff. They have a deeper starting pitching staff rotation than the Dodgers. This one's going to be classic. This is going to be a lot of fun. They don't like each other. They're in pretty good proximity to each other. Same deal with the Mets and the Phillies, separated by about an hour and a half, and they don't like each other. There'll be a lot of Mets fans that'll infiltrate Philly and vice versa. When the scene shifts to Citi Field, there'll be Phillies fans there as well. The Royals and the Yankees, again, that one has the David versus Goliath feel to it, with the Royals obviously being the David. And then the Tigers and the Guardians, who played a bunch of times in that American League Central, which ended up being a lot better than people had anticipated going into the season. You think about the Guardians, the great run they had with Vogt, their new manager, and what a job he did. Of course, the Tigers looked like they were out of it at the All-Star break and went crazy, went bonkers in the second half of the season to get in. The Royals steady Eddie all year long after losing 106 games last year. And don't forget Minnesota. They folded 10 at the end of the year, but they were right there for a playoff spot most of the season. Then you had the dog, which was the White Sox. The dog, the Bones. Maybe that's the connection. Chicago White Sox losing 121 games. I see Bryant Dacus has stepped into the building. Of course, he'll be pinch hitting once again for Dave Woloshin for Wolo and Friends. Wolo will be back on Monday, and of course, Bryant has his show from 3 to 6 with Brett. Do you know the mystery of the Milk-Bone Minis?
I have no idea, Greg. They appeared yesterday. I have no idea.
I'm trying to find out because it's driving me crazy. I'm sitting here with this box in my hand.
I say finders keepers.
I don't want them. I don't have a dog, nor do I want to eat them, but they're sitting here. Although we talked about this earlier, and I asked Elijah, because I know people in my life that have tried the dog bone, right? And
I was just about to ask you if you've tried them.
No, but he has. Elijah has. He said they taste a little chalky.
I believe it. I would not try a dog treat.
They probably whiten the dog's teeth and all that. You got white teeth from eating the dog bones?
Not that I noticed. I didn't notice a difference.
All right, that's going to do it for us today and this week here on Sports 56 Mornings. Big thank you to you folks for listening, your calls, your texts. We always appreciate that. Also, shout out to Elijah Seegers in his first week as our new producer of the program. Thanks to our great guests today, John Varlas, Dave Sampson, Lawrence Dockery, and Brandon Lang. And a happy birthday to my partner, Eli Savoy, who turns 50 on Sunday. You can wish him a happy birthday if you want to call in on Monday or text in. Or if you know him and you got his personal number, make sure you text him. That's a big milestone. The big old 5-0. He'll be back with me on Monday, starting bright and early at 7 a.m. Again, Brian Dacus pinch hitting for Dave Woloshin. He's coming up next. For Eli Savoy, for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great weekend, everybody.